Hello, everybody. It's Friday night. So, and I've got with me Bryant. He's over there, that side. And welcome, Bryant.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
This is a non-Tunes Day night special. I just thought, hey, let's do something. Let's have some fun and see what interesting things we can do. And so we've got some things to talk about. You may know it, but right now is the Derpy convention, the other Flat Earth convention. This one they didn't. I don't think they liked hanging out in the same, Freemason owned room as each other. So they're doing this one online completely. Plus they don't have to rent any facilities, so it's a bigger grift.
Yeah. Jaron didn't want to be to the last one. He was the one that did the live stream. Everybody else was there. All the other big names were, or some of the other big names right there. He didn't show up but he likes to stay in his little cave, and kind of picking on him lately because he had some things to say about me in a recent live stream.
Yeah. Maybe you want to talk about that. I'm going to prep something completely unrelated to what you're about to talk about. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I think a lot of you guys have seen my Himawari video, and the Globebusters did a whole stream on it. And I'm working on a video rebuttal to that right now. It's going to be really good. I just dropped everything for today to be on the show tonight. So they basically only went through 9 minutes of my video out of 32. And they went on for an hour just complaining, calling me a liar, just all kinds of words. And they didn't provide much evidence, though. They didn't really debunk what I said. So I mean, just kind of, I was like, Jaron was the one talking the most. So he had a lot of things to say about me. So I'm like, I'm going to do a rebuttal to this because they censored my reply. Because I did write a long reply on their comment section. And I'm like, they didn't do a very good job debunking my video. So I'm just going to leave some comments and let it be. But they deleted my comments. So I'm like, oh, okay.
A flat earther would censor comments? Oh,
yeah. And then
who would think?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, you guys are like complaining about being censored online, and yet you censor us. And I allow everybody to come to my channel. In fact, I'll pin you. I'll pin like Witsit or anybody that comes in. You get center stage if you come to my channel.
There's a name. There's a name for that. The pin of shame.
So anyway, I don't know what led me down this road to tracking up this video I found of Jaron, but I'm like, it just in the back of my head, it's like, as I'm working on the Himawari video, I'm thinking of my next video on ISS because I want to do a next video because ISS is a globe killer too. But then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Jaron, I heard from somewhere, and it was flatearth.ws, one of their little posts there. They talk about, all the different ways that flat earthers debunk themselves. And they list that as a featured debunk, how Jaron, basically saw the ISS and confirmed it. And then I'm like, well, where's that video? So I just got to looking online, and it was deleted, of course. And then I found some posts on Metabunk, and the Metabunk
Jaron deleted his video of him seeing the ISS.
Yeah.
Really?
And so he deleted it. And so, like on Metabunk, there was a whole thread, but all the stuff that Jaron posted, of course, were deleted. So there were just a lot of kind of dead ends. But then I just, through a lot of searching, I found a mirror site. It was someone that was mirroring Jaronism's YouTube channel. I don't know, for whatever reason. So the video was there.
Because the flat earthers are all, they're censoring us. So let's do backups of it.
Yeah, right. So it wasn't even on archive.org.
He censored himself.
So even archive.org had dead links. I'm like, shoot.
Well, archive.org doesn't do a whole lot of YouTube video backups. Okay, I've never had success there.
But what archive did give me was the title of the video, and that's how I ended up finding the mirror site is doing an exact search for the title on, even though the video wasn't there. So I created a little page, dfe.net/ISS, and I think if I didn't, I will put the original video. I'm pretty sure it's there somewhere. But on this page, I also have little videos. I created that playlist I sent you with kind of little snippets of the top ways that I found that flat earthers debunk themselves. And of course, the featured one is Jaron. And some people in the comment section on when I posted the video yesterday, they did say, "Oh yeah, we remember when we saw that. That was, like the good old days when, when Jaron." But a lot of people, it was kind of new. They just thought it was a new thing. They're like, "Oh, we thought this was a new video," but they didn't realize that Jaron did it in 2018. So I don't know if we can maybe play that in a minute here, but
yeah, let me. I'm setting up to get your playlist up.
But as I was watching that video of him seeing the ISS, I mean, my jaw just dropped. I'm like, I mean, this is actually like if you were like a globe debunker or a flat Earth debunker like you and me, this was an impeccable video Jaron did to debunk the flat Earth. I mean, he did a really good job capturing the ISS, and I was even able to use his image and calculate the time of the transit across from one side of the moon to the other. And I mean, you can calculate the distance, kind of get a rough estimate of how fast it's going, right? Across, and it's like that's 17,400 miles an hour. And but it's so anyway, it was just kind of it was a really, I mean, kudos to Jaron. I mean, it was a very nice capture. This P900.
A good job getting the ISS with the P900, the flat earther camera of choice.
Yeah.
And then keep going.
And then so now I spent a lot of today scrambling with my graphic designer to create some memes. So if you go to, I mean, well, you can give your link too, MC. And then at my site, I got it as well.
His Bryant's is in the chat right now. I'll give you mine.
Please, everybody, my hope is there might be some graphic designers out there that are better at doing this. I mean, my designer is pretty good, but she was busy today, so she couldn't spend a lot of time doing it. But I thought she did a pretty good job. I mean, considering the time that she had. And so please, my hope is that we can get this to go viral, kind of like Bob Nodell's 15 degrees per hour drift meme. So because this is right up there. I mean, I don't know if it's quite as good as that one. That one's tough to beat, but I mean, I don't know. His video was impeccably done. I mean, it was just like Bob, right? Looking at his ring laser, seeing the 15 degree per hour drift, and then admitting on the behind the curve and the after scenes, admitting basically this is bad for us, right? To something to that effect. So I mean, this is to me, and I'm surprised. I guess for me, the big shock was, as much as I've researched flat Earth, I mean, not as much as you have, MC, but I was shocked that I haven't seen this footage yet. I just saw that one post on flatearth.ws, but he didn't have any links to any videos there. All he did he just had a little blurb about it, and he just kind of put a little image from the video. But I'm just kind of surprised that this isn't getting more press. I mean, because this should be a big deal amongst us.
It was at the time, and of course he got a lot of crap about it, and that's why he censored himself.
Because that was right around when you were starting, wasn't it? I mean, weren't you in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
2018 was when he did it, and I remember just watching how it's like,
you're right.
You dummy. They constantly debunk themselves every time they do a test, and they do it like honestly and like don't, right, then it doesn't work for them. But if the only test that ever works for them, there's only one, and they always want to do it, is the laser test over water.
Oh, right, the laser test
That's
over water.
All they ever want to do, or over land, or whatever at night.
With refraction that can pretty much go in any distance and indefinite.
Yeah, they choose the time where it's maximal refraction and then claim that there's zero refraction. It's right. It's just a blatant lie is all they're doing.
Yeah. So and I did kind of queue up in that list I sent you. I don't know if we need to go through all of them, because I know a lot of people out there have seen them, but I just kind of wanted to put together a greatest hits of the ways that flat earthers debunk themselves. And I kind of trimmed down a little bit of like the Bob, and I didn't want to, because we've all seen it so many times, right? But it never hurts to see it again. It's just,
you can't not see it again.
But so I included the after scene though on the behind the curve, where he basically is confessing, kind of like spilling the beans right to the director, whoever it was he was talking to. And sometimes that's left out when people just kind of share the meme, the fact that he's basically admitting how bad it is for us, that we could.
and if you hear their response to it is the worst. They're like, oh, we took it to a higher elevation and it measured rotation, but a different amount of rotation.
A different amount, yeah. It's like
which,
the ethers,
which number one still confirms rotation, but all it does is it shows that that you misused the instrument.
Right, the pressure, right? I mean, like you say in the instructions on.
Yeah, the pressure change was.
Pressure change.
I'm gonna have to prep myself for this. It's gonna be.
So yeah, Whitsitt was saying that during the. I mean, I couldn't wrap what he was trying to say in the debate with me about how it went down to 13 degrees or something when they went to higher elevation, and it's like, well, how does that work even with your swirling ether model? I mean, why would it go? Why would it go down? I mean, if you're getting closer to the swirling ether, wouldn't that?
But there's no swirling ether. Michelson Morley confirms that the ether's not moving. Except Michelson Gale confirms the ether is vortexing. Except Michelson Morley confirms the ether isn't moving. Except Michelson Gale confirms that there's a vortex. Which one is it, guys?
Which one is it? Well, Whitsitt likes to say that the Michelson Morley always has fringes. He doesn't buy that the null result, And so he'll.
We have a visitor. Hold on a second. There he is. Hey, kitty. What do you think? He's like, you're holding me. I don't like that. He prefers to sit on you.
Oh, yeah?
That's it. He doesn't like to be held. He just wants to sit on you. He'll sit on you and purr. But if you hold him, he's like, let go. I got to go. All right, sit, wave bye. There you go. All right. Oh, we've got another one. We got the other. This one is not, she's much.
Wait, I haven't seen that one yet.
This one's raccoon. That last one was turtle. This is raccoon. Hey, look right here.
Hey, look. Hey, raccoon.
There she is. She's pretty sweet. She's very soft and doesn't mind being held so much.
So yeah, that's the hold with the ring. So yeah, and then I got a couple others too in that list, and a couple ones that I collected from. I mean, even though we showed it on your birthday celebration show, I just thought it's one of those things that just kind of makes your heart warm as a debunker when you see Derps basically. I'll
play this. Sorry, but first of all, we've got a member super chat from Unflat Earth that says interesting.
Yeah, I just had to end my video with that. I was like, you know what? I'll even risk the copyright strike if I'm not supposed to put the hood in there.
No, I've never had trouble with playing behind the curve.
Okay.
Video. So, all right, and Brenda was in here saying that they'll do a strike on if you use their stuff, but Jaron deleted it. He doesn't even have that on his channel anymore. Somebody else.
I thought about that. I'm like, if he tries to do a strike against me, he doesn't have it on his channel anymore to claim that it's his video.
I mean, he can.
Oh, he can. Okay.
Through copyright law, but not through the automatic system. Because in your channel, when somebody mirrors some of your content, you have a thing in your channel that says, well, here, this person did it, and this was your section of your video that they did. Well, he won't get that because, well, maybe he privated it instead of deleting it. Maybe then, but I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's watch this one here. I've got you'll hear it, you won't see it. I've got this one, your first one here.
I finally saw it after trying to film the ISS at least 24 times, and I could never capture the shape. But the other night, I finally did.
So that's the one. That video is the one, everybody. If you want, go ahead and use that one. That's the one that the Thanks Bob style.
Yeah, definitely use that. I'm going to upload the video version to that link I shared to the dfe.net/ISS. I have the regular GIF with just the silent one, but I'm going to make it an audio, like just 10-second little video you can share too.
Oh yeah, last night. So the new thing is they say that you can't go to the North Pole, and of course this weekend their online festive idiocy is the Mount Meru True Earth thing where they're focusing on everything's at Mount Meru apparently and everything's in the middle, which where have I heard that before? What flat earthers starting in 2014 started saying that? Talking about going to the portal at the North Pole.
I think you've done a couple of videos on that recently, haven't you?
Who could it have been that did that? I don't know. Was it Satan? Yes, that's right. Mark Braun, the flat earther that literally calls himself Satan, constantly talks about going to the magic hole or the holy hole at the North Pole to go through and enter into Hyperborea or Agartha or the Holy Grail or the Garden of Eden, or, well, he gives it 1,000 different names.
I mean, is that like a hollow earth thing then? Or is he just like a hollow flat earth?
It's under the earth.
Oh,
So
so I guess you can walk right side up on the other side there too.
I don't know. They didn't provide any explanation of the physics that's going to happen.
Is there a point where you turn around when you're going and the gravity starts to...
I don't know. I mean, I saw Godzilla, the inside the earth thing.
Oh yeah,
And the physics of that, I didn't no, none of that was really satisfactory to me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it wasn't.
So they are talking about the thing that Flat Earth Satanists have been talking about for 8 years.
So is that going to be like a theme this weekend, or are they going to somehow?
I don't know. I didn't actually get the notes.
You didn't get the notes.
All I know is the name of it. It's the Mount
They got
Meru
some.
Summit.
I mean, all the who's who of flat earthers are going to be speaking. So I mean, even David Wolf, they got him. And I used to know David Wolf from my raw food days back in the day when I was doing the raw food thing.
Do you cook food now?
Yeah, I do cook food now.
Okay. All right.
That didn't work out for me so well. Trying that.
I've been doing these videos, and so I've been investigating and stuff on the different people that are in the movie level. So I've prepared a video on 3. I wrote the whole thing out and got all the clips together for 3 of them. I might even record it tonight. And Santos is one of them. Santos Bonacci. That guy's disgusting. He is gross. The amount of random nonsense that he puts out, in addition to his absolute disgustingness, is amazing.
I mean, FTFE has read some letters out loud or emails that he sent him. It's just it's shocking. I mean, just
email. So I'm doing like this thing on Flat Earth Satan, and then Tanner Stewart, the #1 acolyte, or the most well-known acolyte. And then the movie that Tanner is heavily involved with and maybe even funded, Level. So anyway, so it's Santos, and I'm only doing a little bit on him, and I'm going to do a whole dedicated one just to him, with some of the emails he sent me.
Oh,
disgusting. And the pictures can't show. You can't show the pictures that he sent me.
I mean, he's just
absolutely could not show the pictures that he sent me. Disgusting.
Yeah, I've heard enough. I mean, already it's just one of the worst that I've heard of all of them. I haven't heard any of the flat earthers speak like he does. I mean, that bad.
For the transcendental peace guru that he tries to portray himself as,
right? He
certainly is not. All right, so it's Santos, Martin Lidke, who, that guy's creepy, and then Sean Hibbler. Sean Hibbler, who in my investigation seems to be on board. Seems to be. That's all I can say. Seems to be.
Yeah, he was interesting having on the debate forum when I was debating all 4 of those guys.
Yeah, he
didn't have anything intelligent to say, really. It was just kind of a lot of outbursts. He just had these little. He got like when I called it the flat Earth a disc. Boy, he just absolutely got super upset just that I referred to it as a disc. I mean, he just went on.
Like, because it keeps going forever. He thinks.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, but I look forward to some more of those videos. I mean, because that truth does need to come out on some of these what they're up to.
They take a lot of time. I don't get nearly as many views on them. So, like for my channel's success and stuff like that, it's not the right move. But I agree. They need to come out more. So I'm gonna keep doing more.
Yeah, people are seeing them. So I don't know. Do you want to play some of the videos? Yeah. I mean,
let's get back to
because to me, it's just kind of like the greatest hits of how Jaron and Dirth and Bob and some of these flat earthers have done such an impeccable job of debunking the flat Earth.
So I won't play the one. So which one do you want to play? I did the
Well, the Jiren one, I don't mean, it is like 4 or 5 minutes, so maybe we don't want to play that whole thing. The other ones I put up there are a little shorter.
Oh yeah.
But I request though, can we like play like maybe the last minute of the Jiren one? Because it kind of cuts to the chase right at the end when he gets to where he's seeing.
What's going on, everyone?
Yep. Let me.
Because that's worth, even if you all have seen it, it's kind of worth just watching it again and kind of taking it in.
Here we go.
Has the shape that the ISS is supposed to have. Now, one thing I did do, just because I wanted to kind of verify it a little bit further, is I took this particular image of the ISS, or supposed ISS, and the first thing I did was I chroma keyed it to take out all of the black. And now you see that, and I put it in front of the moon, and then I was able to reduce the size and get it down to the same size as the blob crossing. Spun it, turned it the right way, and overlaid it. It certainly looks to be the correct dimensions of the ISS. Fit right over it, just like that.
Interesting. Interesting,
Thanks, Jaron.
Thanks, Jaron. I mean, we got to get that going like with Thanks, Bob, because it's just, I mean, because listen, if the IXS exists, then space exists.
Yeah.
Then we have objects that can orbit the Earth that exist. Objects that are 400, 8 miles above the surface of the Earth that are going 17,000 miles an hour. And if they exist, MC, regardless if there's people, they like to do all these parodies of the ISS. I mean, in so many different ways, right? They just can't stop doing that. But it doesn't matter. If we can show that it's up there, and it doesn't matter who or what's inside of it. I mean, those images coming down are just absolute flat Earth killers, just like the Himawari, right? And you can, again, if Jaron was really interested in the truth, he could have got somebody locally and triangulated the distance and got verified that it was that high up, right?
Oh, but math is fake.
Oh, that's true, yeah. And even like I said, even just his image, I put it into my little software and I could do frame by frame. And when he slowed it down tenfold, I could get the transit across the moon at about 1.6 or 1.7 seconds, which is about, what it is roughly. I mean, it's close enough where you can get an estimate of the speed.
It depends. It depends where in the sky the moon is too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because if it's low in the horizon for you, then the transit time is different than if it's directly above.
Oh, okay.
The math is a little involved. So
yeah, true. But still, I mean, it's just the fact that it's there. And also, when you get those horizon shots from the ISS, the geometric horizon equals the apparent horizon. That argument goes out the window in space, right? I was just thinking about that. And they keep making this big deal.
When you're in space, though, don't open the window to throw it out. Use an airlock.
Oh, right. But it's like, that's their big thing right now. They just can't stop harping about geometric horizon, apparent horizon. It's like geometric. Well, guess what? Those ISS shots, the geometric horizon is the apparent horizon. The two are one. There's no refraction up there. And so anyway, it's just such a great evidence, that we live on a sphere. But yet, if you watch the rest of his source video, he just comes up with all these excuses. And the first thing that he says is it's NASA. So this can't, I mean, he, without even reasoning what he just saw, it's like, well, this is produced by NASA, therefore it has to be false.
Well, no, yeah, that's a religious position he has.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't falsify science with religion.
That's coming out of the gates after he had that observation, that's the first thing he says, or that he kind of harps on, right? And then from there, it's just a matter of trying to find, okay, now that we have declared that it's got to be fake because it's NASA, now what can we do to somehow, find our, confirmation bias to support our, like you say, it's a religious belief that they're just thinking that it's everything by NASA can't be true. And so
it's an automatic, if it's from NASA, it can't be true. Unless it supports them. When they have their 44 documents of NASA admits, then
right.
Then they accept what NASA says.
Right,
basically not understanding engineering. Anyway, let me read this one here from Mark Grondlin. Says for 5 Canadian, get yourself some eye bleach after those pics from Santos. Yeah. I asked him if they were from his private collection.
Oh, wow.
And then he sent more.
So it's like images you really can't even talk about. They're like, oh, so bad, right? I mean,
yes, can't talk about. And I can say there were humans and animals in them.
Wow.
Yep. And the humans and animals were wearing the same amount of clothing.
Oh, no.
There you go. From Santos, the transcendental spiritual guru.
Does he really do spiritual? I mean, is that a joke? I mean, does he like do retreats for people?
Oh yeah, he has a whole thing in Mexico that he was setting up for people to come like be there, and I don't think they did. So he switched to this online thing. So it's like $50 a month to get online videos.
Oh, okay.
Or $500 a year if you pay up front.
Yeah.
And it's just videos. That's it, right? So $50 a month for these videos. I don't know what. And it's his syncretism, which is basically he just takes whatever religions he's interested in and then cherry picks stuff out of them and creates this amalgam. And he's like, I'm so smart because I put together all these things.
Yeah.
Well, you're not the first one to do that. It's been around for a long time. People cherry picking things from other religions. I'm
curious though. What are some of the favorite? Like I've heard even things about the ISS like being a hologram, and like what are some of the best excuses you've heard from flat earthers? I mean, what like
for the ISS?
For the ISS, I mean, is it just some kind of mechanical thing that they just have up there, and they're just sort of trying to make it look like it's high up, and it's really not that high up? And because it's a hologram, it can't occlude anything, right? Holograms you can see through.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop them. They don't. Right. So you're like, well, how could there be a hologram, casting a shadow in front of the moon? Well, their answer is, well, the moon's plasma. Instead of actually addressing the question, they go to some other piece of stupidness. But all right. So what do they say? Well, they say it's a plane. They say it's a balloon. They say it's a hologram. It's an illusion. They say, why are you looking into the sky to see what shape the earth is? They say, I don't know. That's that kind of stuff.
There's just not that. Yeah, there's just not that much. There's just like the Himawari objections. I mean, I won't get into it because my video is going to go through it. But I mean, I've literally scoured the internet for every Himawari video, and I've just answered them all. And it's like, is there anything I haven't been stumped yet? I've been able to find answers to everything. Yeah. And so I haven't gone into the ISS. That's my next little project to really kind of show how the ISS is also a flat Earth killer, because it is. Their images. I mean, it's not 24/7 because they take time off because they get, on the dark when at nighttime. And I mean, they even say that. And Jaron, that was one of his he spent like 5 months ranting on about how they say they're 24/7, but they're not. And therefore it's fake. I'm just like, well, they don't.
Therefore it's fake, which is basically their mentality that because since it's not every single day, then it's fake.
Yeah, well, they just with the Himawari too. They went on this big long rant that it was a 10-minute delay. It's like 10 minutes is pretty incredible that you're scanning high resolution images through the scanning process.
What would be acceptable? What would
they want? No, Whitsitt said what was acceptable. He says they should be giving us live feeds all the time. There should be no delay. That's what Whitsitt demanded because he thinks that's what we should because they think that supercomputers are having to process that 10 minutes gives them time to use their supercomputers to create these models. So if they literally think that weather simulation can be done in 10 minutes.
Well, even if it could, if it could, how are you going to simulate weather for areas where there aren't cameras? How are you going to simulate a hurricane where there's no camera?
Yeah.
Right. There's no camera over most of the water. Right.
Well, exactly. But the beautiful thing with ISS now with Himawari is you can take cameras and you can find days where you can take a picture of a cloud that's got a distinct characteristic. And, if you're at the right time where the ISS is above you, you can get truth confirmation from the ISS and then from the GOES, and you can see GOES matches ISS. And then, of course, the big clouds.
Obviously, they're all working together.
Yeah. It's so that's something I'm going to really look. It's like ISS is another good piece to the puzzle, because you can just get these multiple angles all seeing the same thing. And cloud cover can't be recreated with weather models. That's something I'm going to really address in my next video. You can't use weather simulation software to create cloud cover. It's too detailed. It's just impossible. But they just really think it's computer simulations, Doppler, and balloons. That's what creates,
balloons.
Balloons.
And what's their evidence that balloons are up there? Well, they say NASA is the number one purchaser of helium, which apparently they're not. True or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just because they buy helium doesn't mean anything in particular that they do with the helium.
Well, they'll just link to a NASA page that has NASA weather balloons. So the fact that there's a page, all of a sudden, that's got to be the reason.
Yeah. There is such thing as balloons, therefore, something else can't exist. Well, hold on a second. I've seen a bicycle, therefore motorcycles don't exist.
Yeah.
That's the same logic. Exact same logic.
What's his name? Phuket Word? How do you pronounce that guy, Nick?
Phuket. Yeah.
Phuket. So I debunked part of his video, and his whole video was 16 minutes of just balloons that we should see night lights city lights at night from space, and then we should see stars around. That was like, he went on for 15 minutes about just those three things. And for the balloon, you know what he did for the balloons part? He pulled up a Wikipedia page talking about weather balloons, as if looking on Wikipedia for weather balloons is somehow proof that it's got to be weather balloons. And he's like, and he didn't even, there was no other evidence besides the Wikipedia that weather balloons exist. Therefore, that's how it's got to be weather balloons.
Yeah.
I mean, I kid you not. That was like his proof.
Here's from PJCnet in the chat. Says, they'll say satellites, but it doesn't have to be. There's hundreds of weather balloons released every single day, for instance. Hundreds.
Well, there are a lot.
I'm going to ask PJCnet for a citation on hundreds every single day. Hundreds every single day. Not one day. Not 80. Hundreds. So more than 100 every single day, PJ.
Well,
just send that to me.
Well, what he's getting at is local weather stations do send up the smaller balloons that go up for temperature, pressure type of reading. So, and those last a couple hours, and they don't. But so they do. There's a lot that do go up every day, and I have a map on my next video. I'll show the map of all the balloons, and the problem is there's big gaps over the oceans where there's no stations. There's nothing. So you can't. And Doppler's not over the ocean. You can't get Doppler. So what do they say?
Oh wait, why can't you get Doppler over the ocean? Well, that's right. Radar has a maximum distance it can go because there's something in the way.
What is that? I wonder.
I wonder what could be why is there a radar shadow?
Right.
From radar.
So their answer over the oceans for the cloud cover is computer simulations. And then they pull just these composite images from Himawari. They're just randomly saying, oh, this is what they use with. And you know what I found with the weather simulation is that they require satellite input. So to get real-time simulation numbers.
Wait a second, where'd that come from?
And some of their models that they do are really good, but guess what? They take at least like 2 hours or more to do every model run. Not 10 minutes.
Assume it can be done in 10 minutes.
Assume it can be done, right. But then you read the fine print, and data is getting fed in from the satellites.
Oh yeah, that's the problem.
So it's not that's
the problem. It's not that you couldn't do it in 10 minutes. That's not the answer.
There's not just a bunch of equations that kind of just run for 6 hours.
Yeah.
They're getting constant input from the satellites. So that's the only reason they can get them fairly accurate, right? Because they got to get that real-time input to keep it as, because it's a nonlinear system, very chaotic. So they have to keep feeding in fresh data to keep it up to date. And guess where that data comes from? From satellites. So their whole weather simulation argument is based on them not reading the fine print that NASA is using satellites. In fact, Iru at the Globebusters, he's like, listen, Bryant, he had words for me, right? He's like, and he thought he was going to show me, right? And so he brought this whole weather simulation thing, and I'm going to really debunk that on my next video, but this is just a brief summary of that. But that's the whole point that he wasn't getting, is that the simulations not only take 2 hours, but they're getting input from actual satellites. How does that help their model when they're using an argument. Yeah.
Well, when they do the Photoshop, it has to be guy.
Oh,
That guy said, remember what he said? Where he got the data from? Satellites.
From the Terra.
In the interview, he's like, "Well, we took data from satellites and we built a composite." And they're like, "Therefore, fake." Wait a second. Data came from satellites, not flat Earth.
I'm gonna go through this in my next video. Actually, it was the Terra satellite embassy that went 4 months, took high resolution scans, and then what's his name, Simmons. But Simmons wasn't one that put together the scans. There's another guy who's like working in Switzerland now in some meteorology agency there. But he took all this raw data and put it into like a huge high resolution map of the Earth. And then Simmons, in Photoshop, took those real images from 4 months of collecting data at super high resolution, right? And then he wrapped it around a sphere in Photoshop. But what was he wrapping this around? He was wrapping real images of the Earth, because the Terra satellites it was taking strips, right? Because it was in such low orbit, it couldn't get the whole. It wasn't like Himawari that was in high orbit; it was low orbit, so it was taking these high resolution strips around the Earth over 4 months. I mean, there's just tremendous amounts of data. It was a huge project. It ended up on the first iPhone, right? That image of the blue marble, which is kind of became. But that Photoshop that he did, and he enhanced some of the colors. They talk about what they did to enhance, but it all came from very real images to start with. Yeah. And it's like, yes, he used Photoshop, but Hollywood actors and actresses get Photoshopped. And there's some good articles where you can see before and afters of Hollywood actors and actresses, before and after Photoshop. But they're not fake people. It's not like they're not real just because they got Photoshopped. Right? I mean, it's just ridiculous
and composites aren't.
No, composites. Your phone. Almost every photo these days is a composite because you're combining red, RGB. It's a digital. And
you want to really get down to it. Your digital camera is a composite of lots of different pixels.
Yeah.
And you can do a composite that way, which is a whole bunch of individual pixels, and then take another picture next to it.
Yeah.
And then put those two together, and that's yet another layer of compositing. But that doesn't make it fake either.
No.
In order for it to be fake, it has to have been sourced from non-real pictures.
Yeah. And there's a company that makes these super high resolution images for like big, large images. And what they do is they have a camera, they take several pictures of one image and they stitch them all together. And I love this. Oh, go ahead.
We've got this idiot M. Malone in here. Since you said Mark Sargent won't debate, and he won't, why not try Eric Dubay, who boasts that he'll debate Michikaku on the FE topic? Of course I have challenged Eric Dubay. He blocked me on Twitter. He blocked me on Facebook. I put out a specific video calling him out, challenging him to debate. Simon Dan 3 weeks in a row challenged Eric Dubay to debate. No answer from Eric Dubay. M. Malone, your heroes are cowards. Cowards. Eric Dubay is a coward. He says he wants to debate Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil never agreed to it. Eric Dubay actually lies in a video claiming that that Neil agreed to it, and then plays the clip of Joe Rogan talking about it. Joe Rogan says Eric Dubay agreed to debate, and we're going to try to get them on. He's not taught. Never did Neil deGrasse Tyson agree to debate. So M. Malone, your coward Eric Dubay won't debate me. He's too scared. But I'm glad to. You go tell him. You send that message, M. Malone, on my behalf. I'm ready, Eric Dubay, to debate you. You just, M. Malone, you go ahead. You tell your hero who's a coward that. You tell him that, okay?
Has he ever done any debates? I've never seen
him. I've not seen, or do I know
just like any Mark Sargent. Has Mark Sargent done a debate before?
Mark Sargent will only talk to like news people.
Oh, okay.
And they're reporters. They're not debaters. They're not knowledgeable in this topic, So, but no, those aren't debates anyway. So. Yeah. All right, let's do this. We have this list you put together. You want to do the
It's just a couple. I mean, yeah, just a couple. It's kind of like the Jaren. Yeah, let's go through the Jaren one because this is like the greatest hits of flat earthers debunking themselves.
You're seeing through this hole, through the next hole, and seeing the light at the backboard or at 17 feet off the water. The Earth is flat. If he's holding it up at 23 feet high and we're seeing the light, well, that's because the Earth's curved. So I should only be able to see it when it's at 17 feet. Enrique, how high is your light?
17 feet.
I mean, it's as, we don't see you, Enrique. Lift up your light way above your head. Interesting.
If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift. We obviously were not willing to accept that, and so we started looking for ways to disprove that it was actually registering the motion of the Earth and that it in fact was registering the motion of the sky. But the rotation is not looking good at this point. Yeah, if we dumped what we found right now, it'd be bad.
Oh no.
It would be bad.
Dave, this is good.
You miss that. People miss it. Behind Bob is a telescope during that interview with an equatorial mount, which no flat earther has ever explained how an equatorial mount could work on flat Earth. They just say
Witsit tried to explain it, but it was the worst explanation I've ever heard.
It's just vague collections of words.
It was just exactly that. It was not even a coherent sentence, really.
Yeah. All right. Here's Dearth.
Dave, your app has Antarctica on it. You do realize that, right?
Around the outskirts?
How so?
I have your app, and I went to Antarctica to look for someone, but it kept loading and loading. Somebody told me that they found some people in Antarctica that downloaded your app.
Yeah, absolutely. We have two guys in Antarctica. Okay. One of them at KC Station, and the other one was out in the middle of nowhere. Here he is, right here.
Right there, yeah.
Yeah.
So right.
And I was communicating with him for a while, and it was quite interesting.
But before you
let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, before you play the next one, it dawned on me after our conversation about the whole west of east thing or the south of west when he says that silly thing.
Yeah.
Because I just thought it was like the dumbest thing. But then when you explained it, that every direction is south on the flat Earth, more or less. I mean, because everywhere you point, the ice wall is somewhere going to be where you point, right? How are you explaining that to me?
Well, yeah, every direction eventually gets you south again.
Because he says every direction you're at is west. He said everywhere you go is west, and everything beyond that is south. I mean, it sounds so silly, and it is.
It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I mean, if you look at this, if you're here, and you go that way, you eventually get to the south, right? Once you go far enough, you're going south.
Yeah. So I guess the reason I think this is a debunk of Dearth debunking himself is he's going by his map, and when you listen to it, it's so ridiculous and nonsensical that even like an elementary school kid could hear that and say no and just shake their head. That's not right. I mean, it's just one of those kind of, I don't know, self-evident debunks. It's like, how could, because when my head went spinning after, when he said that during the debate, I was like, what? And I just couldn't even fathom it. I couldn't even fathom what he was saying. It was just so ridiculous.
And that's what happens when people that are uninitiated debate these people, because they come up with the most ridiculous things.
And then me not being stumped like that, and it looks like I have no answer to it, like he stumped me.
Yeah.
But it was just more that I was in shock that he even said it. I do want you to play it, because to me it's just something that other debunkers need to kind of use these little videos and clips just to show how ridiculous some of these guys are.
Here it goes.
Let me ask you a question.
But you might think that.
Can you point west right now?
Wait. Warning. Facepalm protection needed. Push your monitor back out of the way
Wait,
and put on your oven mitts. Okay.
from the top.
You
from
see,
the top.
you've got these kinds of disclaimers are necessary when dealing with the extreme derp that derp puts out.
Let me ask you a question.
but you might think that.
Can you point west right now?
Well, if I had again, we can get a compass and do a test. We
You
don't have to
can't
know
point
exactly.
west. West is right where you are. Anything past that is south.
And that is what we get as a result of the
Oh.
Rockefeller indoctrination system.
Wait, turn that off for now. I just put that there just for fun.
But Karen, she's such a kidder.
I know she's a kidder. We're just kind of kidding around putting that on there. We like to joke around like that. Sometimes she'll say stuff about me and I'll say stuff about her. And, but it's all in fun. It's all just kind of for fun. We just kind of give each other a little bust through each other's chops.
Karen, we love Karen. She's the best.
Yeah. But yeah, she did have some words for me during that live stream. And I didn't put the whole rant on. It was too long. She went on for about a minute. I just took that last little bit because, but anyway, we can save that maybe for.
All right, let me, I got a couple other things here to read. Lael says, Bryant, I talked to Whitsitt today about electrostatics, and he claimed that he never claimed that gravity existed. What he said was, if gravity existed.
But regarding what though? Like, he doesn't, I know he doesn't think gravity exists.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, he makes that clear that he doesn't believe in gravity.
Yeah. So he goes into the electric universe stuff to try to disprove it, right?
Oh, right.
And the thing is they forget, they get into this electric universe stuff, and then they start making up ad hoc garbage for why things happen and trying to invent nonsense about how things happen. In the end, they wind up basically confirming that gravity exists.
Yeah.
Or just by a different mechanism, because all the actual like papers, and you went through all these papers that Whitsitt cited. Actually, Whitsitt just copy pasted Gleam without actually reading any of them. Classic Whitsitt, right? Here's 6 papers that I didn't read that totally supports my point. I know it because I didn't look at them. But all 6 of them, every single one of them agrees that mass attracts mass. The one thing that those were trying to do was to explain a different mechanism underneath.
Except one. One was actually, he didn't realize one of those was totally on board with general relativity, not even trying to create another mechanism. It was just showing how how the field lines of an electric field, just like light can bend over a massive object. So not just light, but the electric fields themselves can bend around a strong electric gravitational field. So that paper actually was totally not even electric universe. It was mainstream acknowledging general. In fact, this experiment kind of confirmed relativity. He was actually sending really good evidence that relativity was confirmed. And in his last paper too, one by Gupta just ended up referencing this the space probe, the gravity probe, where they measured the frame dragging of the Earth and so forth, and general relativity. And he thought a different result was going to come, but little did he know that Gupta didn't know the result of that.
It was before the result came out.
It was before the space probe B. So when the result came, Gupta thought it was going to be a different result. So Whitsitt didn't really look into that because that space probe B totally confirmed relativity with excellent precision, both in the frame dragging and the what's it called? There's something else that they measured based on the Earth's mass, and basically the anomalies of the mass of the Earth they were able to measure that very accurately. But totally. Anyway,
in the end, none of them contradict mass attracting mass. Some of them proposed a different mechanism underneath than general relativity. Not really a good proposal, but even if it were correct, it still didn't help them because mass still attracts mass. But there's also the one by Good Times for All that what's his name? Zach. He used to call himself Dr. Zach. Anyway, clearly has zero education, but his video talks about magnetism being incoherent and that everything has magnetism, everything has incoherent magnetism, and everything attracts each other because of incoherent magnetism, and oopsie, everything attracts each other. All matter attracts all matter.
Oops. There's a potato radius again.
That didn't help you.
Still going to crush into a sphere.
It's just so dumb. I love it when they do that. All right. Based on, hold on a second. It's bread. Bread on its own has been a member for 2 months. Says, greetings from China. Santos is the worst. And yes, I don't know if there's a more disgusting guy. Anyway, that video, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to monetize that video. Cinnamon Control says, for $10, look up IGRA, about 800 weather satellites, stations send up balloons twice daily. Don't think they have cameras on them, though. All right, there you go.
Yeah. So
PJCnet. PJCnet didn't send me a citation. Maybe he did on Discord. Let me look.
A lot of balloons do go up because I've been researching this recently. Yeah. But again, but most of them don't last very long because they get to the higher parts of the atmosphere, then they kind of, because of the pressure, they just burst, right?
Yeah.
Now the ones
PJ sent me twice daily, end of the year. Yeah, same thing. So now here's the problem, PJ. So good for that. Thank you for a citation. And Cinnamon Control, thank you for that. So, but PJCnet, again, it doesn't help you, does it? Do they have cameras on them? Do they go high enough to get, even if they did have cameras, do they go high enough to get the photography that they would need to? And are they over the ocean?
And worse than that, what kind of supercomputer be needed for all these balloons to communicate with each other from some,
like I said,
and stitch together a whole image of the Earth?
I do computers. Yeah. Enough hardware, you could do it.
Enough hardware, but how long would that take? I mean, every 10 minutes?
Enough hardware, it could be done. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. But no doubt. So there's some function of hardware quantity that could do it. It's that there isn't the data there. And they've been doing it for a long time, too.
But now remember, the weather and I just looked this up, the weather simulation of NASA has some of the best supercomputers in the world that can calculate quadrillions of functions a second. They still take 2 hours to do the weather. Every weather simulation takes a 2 hour, because again, it's a ridiculous number of inputs coming. It's so much data that has to get crunched, and that you can't do it in 10 minutes. But you're right. If they created like a whole city of hardware, maybe at some point they could do it.
Assume there's enough dollars in black budgets to do it. It's still not possible.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, the coverage
solve the problem.
When you look at the map of all the places that release weather balloons, which I'm going to put in my next video, again, they're not over the water. So you see all these clusters of balloons getting set up over the land in these huge areas that are not over the water. So again, we get cloud cover from Himawari over the water everywhere, not just over the land. So
I got a question from Aaron Armstrong. This is Micktoon. When did you stop breathing your wife? I don't think I've been breathing my wife.
Is that a real sentence?
Well, he's trying to ask, when did you stop beating your wife? The classic example of the loaded question, which I asked Flatzoid earlier this week when I told him that his question in his survey was a loaded question. He's like, nuh-uh. And so I asked Flatzoid, hey, Flatzoid, when did you stop beating your wife? And Flatzoid, who knew enough about loaded questions to definitely know that his loaded question was not a loaded question, but also at the same time didn't know the classic loaded question. That's always given as his example of what a loaded question is. The correct answer to a loaded question is, that's a loaded question, I can't answer it. So Aaron Armstrong, I knew what you were asking. And it's so funny that you misspelled it. So the answer to your loaded question is, that's a loaded question.
That's a good answer.
All right, I had to pause for that. Okay. Hold on. I got where were we? I kind of interrupted.
Yeah, no, we were just talking about what were we talking about? We got off on some tangents there, electric universe
the
tangents.
the balloons and all.
Oh,
that.
the balloons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the balloons, it just coverage. It just comes back to coverage, and they do get kind of blown around a bit too. So these geostationary satellites stay right locked in step with the Earth, and satellites, these balloons can adjust for altitude based on favorable weather patterns, but they still get blown around. So
Yeah.
I really thought about this too. How could a network of balloons image the whole Earth every 10 minutes? Even if they had stations over the ocean that could somehow put them up, which they don't, I just couldn't see how all that data could somehow get stitched together in real time. I'm not going to say real time. They chewed me out on Globebusters. It's 10 minutes. Okay. They just kept calling me a liar because I was saying that live images from Himawari because they're 10 minutes old.
It's near real time. But here's the problem for them. There was the Dish TV live stream of the Earth that went for years. There was a channel it was in Dish TV or maybe one of the other satellite-based things that was actually live.
Oh.
It was actually a video camera pointed towards the Earth that you could just put on your TV and watch it.
Wow.
So
I mean, like the ISS, but ISS does go kind of off for a while, intermittently.
And it was in geosynchronous orbit, geostationary orbit. So
it was geostationary. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a TV satellite, so it had to be. So, and it just had a camera like Himawari and the GOES satellites. It had a camera, and it was one of the channels that it broadcast was the camera that it had. And you can get some of these. There's a few of these that are recorded that you can find on YouTube. So,
but for me, now that I've really studied Himawari a lot, and I see all these like debates going on the Discord and so forth, they're just talking about curvature, geometric horizon, apparent horizon, refraction. They just keep. It's like Himawari. Just if I did a debate with someone on curvature, I would be out of the gates talking about Himawari and ISS because there's no refraction from there. You're seeing that.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like I've seen all the rebuttals, and if any flat earther is watching the stream, please, what's your best rebuttal to Himawari? I'd love to hear it. I mean, because I've yet to find one that can't be debunked, and it's such a crushing blow to flat Earth.
Well, they can do is just make up ideas. They're like, well, here's an idea, therefore it's true. Like PJC said, you could fill in missing data with AI, except that the data that's
doesn't work
missing is correct data.
Well, and this is something I've really looked at. The best, and I have an image in my next video I'm going to show side by side, one of the best weather simulations over a 90-hour run compared to reality. It was good, but the clouds were off. There wasn't even the best that they can do can't give cloud cover. And that run took a long time because they actually put extra data in to create it. Certainly not. It was certainly like in the hours, at least in the hours of creating that. And they admit that they can't do the cloud cover has to come from real images. You can't get it from Doppler. Yeah.
Here's a funny one. Katie, apparently a Flurf, says 50 years from now, you guys will still be defending why no one has gone back to the moon. So number one, Katie admits that we've gone to the moon. Thank you for that. Some people are saying Katie might be a Poe, I think. So when you're Poeing as a flat earther, you need to watch because leaks like this kind of make it look a little right. Anyway, it's funny. As if that actually changes the shape of the Earth, right? You don't have to go to the moon. People have measured it. But yes, I am excited that the Artemis mission is finally getting underway. NASA is slow as crap, and that is unimpressive with how everything gets delayed. And when you compare it to SpaceX, who iterates quickly on these things, it's drastic how different they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I did study the capability maturity model, CMM, in software engineering and stuff. And the CMM and the CMMI is the newer version of it. I haven't actually paid attention for quite a while, but is how software development is done for projects like government and in space, right? Because you can't do iterative testing. So the new stuff is this, these rapid integration things where you have a tiny change, continuous integration, continuous deployment, where you might have 5 deployments to your main website in a day, or 10 or 20 or 1,000, whatever. And you're just doing these tiny little changes and everything's testing it, and you build all these tests. Anyway, you can't do that when you only send up a rocket once in a while. You can't test over and over and over on different iterations. You have to do it all in one big thing. So I get that that's what NASA does, but I love watching how SpaceX changes things so quickly that they'll put a rocket together, they'll build it, and before they launch it to test it, it's out of date and they go park it. So, all right. Let me. Stringer News 1 says, why are they hiding the West Pole from us?
The West Pole. That's a good one for Darth.
That's Derek. Also, this guy on TikTok, he's so dumb. He's like, how come there's no stars to the west? Huh? Like he didn't understand. I did a video. It's on my other channel, and he just went through he thinks he's debunking the globe because he's like doesn't understand how stars work and how the sun and the moon and the North Pole, South Pole. So dumb. All right. Unflat Earth for 10 New Zealand dollars says Globebusters are the best shills, the best undercover globers taking money from the flat Earth community. Hashtag thanks, Bob.
That's why I'm determined to debunk them, because they have to know the Earth is a globe. I mean, there's just no way that they could possibly believing what they're selling.
It's think about Jaron. This is all he does. It is his life. He needs flat Earth. You ever hear Austin says this to me a lot, and he says, "You need flat Earth." Like, I don't need flat Earth, right? I'm employed. Right, I write software. I don't need flat Earth. If flat Earth went away, then I have things to do.
No, me too. And that actually would give me great joy if that happened.
Yeah, that is my goal. I mean, Austin, that is my goal, for flat Earth to go away.
Yes,
and
me too.
Then I have nothing. Then I have nothing to do on this topic. And there are lots of other derp out there, so it's a target-rich environment. Maybe I'll do something else.
Yeah. And then people can go on with their lives, right? They can just live their lives. They don't have to get caught up in some.
People can watch a NASA live stream without some idiot in there talking about flat Earth. How wonderful might that be?
Yeah, right.
Right? If you guys just shut the hell up and went back to your spider holes, nobody would be out there debunking you. Just go away. Go away. Nobody wants you.
Yeah, because some of them are on the streets preaching, right? They get on the streets with...
Yeah, that's Whitsit, yeah. But let me say, nobody wants you, including your family. Because after debates, I've had a few people come in, message me on Facebook. They're like, yeah, that guy's my brother. Whew. And I'm like, how's family? How's Thanksgiving? He's like, yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. He can't talk about anything else. It's the only thing he ever talks about. Like, yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
All right. I got 2 more here. Timo Lynch says, I now realize the Game of Thrones was basically a parable about science denying. You know nothing, John Flurf.
John Flurf. That's good.
And then QED comes in with serious Q, which a question. If Flat Earth ignores there's a gradient to 0 inside the dome, what stops that from sucking the air up into the dome? That's a great question.
Yeah, that actually is a good question.
Because they don't disagree that there's a gradient. They don't disagree that at high elevation, it's so close to 0 that you could effectively count it as 0. What stops it from sucking the air off of the flat Earth?
Because that is a close. I mean, in their case, they deny gravity.
Yeah, it's a closed system, and the second law of thermodynamics says that it should be a even distribution.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't understand when they talk the second law of thermodynamics. They don't understand that the second law of thermodynamics actually destroys their flat Earth. If there's no force, as they say, gravity is not a force. If there's no force, then it must be evenly distributed. Yet it's
Oh yeah,
not.
if there's no force, exactly. But then the question is, if there's an electric downward bias, how does a bias create a? I mean, this is where they get stuck, right? They can't get past just a bias. They can't quantify it at all. Somehow 9.8 just magically is agreed upon average according to Witsit, which is it's measured.
Well,
of course, you and I know.
But he says it's an agreed upon average. It is an average of the measured downward acceleration around the Earth, and he says this all the time, and he really needs to get put this his feet held to this. Where does that come from? Where does that 9.8 come from? He's like, oh, well, you can just plug it into the kinematics equations. Of course, Witsit has never actually done math. Never.
In one of his graving things, he played a video. He said that I'm going to solve your equation, because I gave him a little equation during the debate. So I said, if a ball is dropped from 10 meters, what's the speed when it hits the ground? So 1 kilometer ball, whatever. It's like, you should be able to calculate this with your model. And what does he do? He pulls up a video without even calculating it, and he just plays the video of somebody going through it. I'm like, well, at least you're attempting to show math, but why don't you just try to do it yourself? I mean, you're just playing a guy, but that's as far as I've seen him get with math in his model. It's just the kinematic. And a kinematic equation is going back to Galileo. Galileo, they observed things fall at 9.8 meters per second.
Yeah.
That's
the important thing is kinematics is how you measure the magnitude of the downward acceleration, not the cause of the downward acceleration. And that's what you need to provide, Flatties, is the cause. Everything you've ever done is never been the cause.
Well, the point is Galileo could see that things fell at 9.8 meters per second squared, but he didn't know the cause. So Witsit and these flat earthers are regressing back to Galilean mechanics. They're going the other direction in their understanding, and again, they don't even understand it as well as Galileo did, because Galileo would have never said it's due to some they didn't have much of a knowledge of electricity and magnetism maybe then, but it was certainly not anything as ridiculous as we hear from flat earthers. It was just, I don't know what Galileo, what his ideas of gravity was. I mean, he knew that there was something, but he didn't have the understanding that Isaac Newton had. Yeah. But he could see things fell at 9.8 meters per second squared. So, and he could use kinematic equations. So that's basically what Witsit is doing, and not even mentioning electrostatics as he's doing these calculations. Where does the electrostatics come into that? And that's where we talked about that before in our RIP IDA.
We don't need to go over that again, but
we don't have to go over that again. Yeah.
Yeah. They come up with all of nothing in the end. So Ableist. Hi guys, if there's a dome, why isn't it completely covered with condensation? Well, it probably is. But you can't see it, you can't measure it, you can't bounce radar off of it, you can't go there. Nobody's ever touched it. Nobody knows what it's made of, but they're sure it's there.
That's a good, just a lot of things they don't think through. There's all these little scenarios of things that we know in the real world that that should happen with an actual physical dome if there was something there. And just, of course, it's probably not. It's a force field according to some, though, isn't it? Or they got different models of that dome.
Yeah. Some it's. I've heard some say that it's super cooled helium, or that it's liquid glass, or that it's solid, or it's blue some metal or some whatever. What is Joey Rocha? He says it's blue something.
They literally said liquid glass. You're kidding, right?
That's what the Hebrew hints at if you take a particular interpretation of it. Does anybody in the chat, does anybody know what Joey Rocha says? Blue sapphire. Harry Warp, you're close. Blue sky stone. I think Joey says sapphire, but some people say sky stone, I suppose.
I've heard the sky ice, but I don't know what is sky ice. Is that a water? Is that
sky ice is the stuff that comes out of airplanes in the toilet system?
Oh man. Well, what are some of your favorite classic flat earthers debunking themselves? Because you've been around.
Well, my favorite, and one of my favorite guys in the world, seriously, is Ranty, who used to be a flat earther and he got better. like that guy that got turned into a newt. He went out to a high school running track where they have a long track, and he put down at the very far end two little figurines. One was a Buddha, one was an egg, and he was mocking Simon Dan and Conspiracy Cats. And then he went way back and he live streamed this. I don't know how far back he was. And this was back when Nathan Oakley was saying everything was angle of attack. And because the angle of attack was so shallow, which doesn't make any sense, instead of being 90 degrees, it was 89.99999 degrees.
Right.
Like, why would that make a difference? I don't know. Anyway, so, and then he went on this track, put the camera on the ground and zoomed in, and you could see everything. That's it. Like, it didn't, he live streamed it and he's like, oh, I can see everything. That's one of my favorites.
What was he expecting? Like, what was going into that? What was his expectation?
He was expecting some bottom up obstruction.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And the track, how flat is the track? Nobody knows. You'd have to measure it, right? Because if you're going to have an analog for the Earth, right, then you need to have, and you're saying that nothing is getting in the way yet it's being obstructed. You need to make sure that what you're looking across, that nothing is actually getting in the way. And they never actually do measure anything. But it's easier than that. How does the sun get obstructed? Because the sun's never close to the ground, right? What do flat earthers do? They're like, here's how the sun sets. And then they'll put a coin on it, touching the surface. But the sun doesn't touch They put a coin touching the surface, right? And then they'll, instead of seeing the top of the paper like you see the top of the ocean, they'll do this. Like, oh, look, you can see the coin here, and it's going away and getting obstructed. Oh, no, look at that. But I can see the surface of the water. This is what you need to do. They're not actually...
Well, that's one of Dirth's kitchen. I want to debunk this at some point, where he's got this thing in his kitchen where he's got this ball, and he tries to show this to me during the debate. I'm like, what am I looking at here?
You've confirmed that something needs to be in the way to obstruct it is what you've done.
Right. Oh man, the sun. I love your video on the sun. I mean, you got some really great stuff there.
I love that the flat earthers said that I didn't understand perspective. And I said, well, then tell it to me. Teach me how to do it. Oh, wizened ones. And none of them could. And I debated Flatzoid on. I said, well, you teach me the right way to do it. And he couldn't for 2 hours. He refused to do it because there is no way to do it. He's like, you're doing it wrong, but I can't tell you the right way to do it.
What's the best answer you've heard, though? The one that at least, is like, that's a good attempt.
For bottom up obstruction?
Yeah, now it's wrong, but it's not a bad attempt. There's nothing.
I mean, the ones that could potentially have some, like you could maybe. All right, all of the best actual attempts at everything comes from the Flat Earth Society forums. The only one that gives a 9.8 meters per second squared upward acceleration or downward acceleration is the upward accelerating Earth. That's the only one. There's flaws in it, like there is a variation. They can't explain the variation. But that's the only one that ever gives an actual direction and magnitude. All the others don't even give either. Yeah.
And as you said, with the Infinite Plane Society, they don't even use even though they could, they don't use the mechanism.
No, they don't.
It's like you guys could get at least a constant value. Of course, you're not going to get the variation either.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's and there's a big rift between the Flat Earth Society and most of the other mainstream flat earthers, right?
All right. So the answer to go back to the question, what's the best explanation I've seen, attempted explanation for the bottom up obstruction, and from them they have what they call electromagnetic acceleration. They say it's a hypothesis. They're at least sort of trying to go around it, but they've been saying the same thing for 4 years and made no progress. But they say that all light accelerates upwards. How, why, when, empirical evidence for it, none of that. It's just a hypothesis. It's, you know, they say, well, it accelerates upwards. So the light comes there and then it curves like that. I'm like, all right, well, it sort of works, but there's a whole lot of problems that it doesn't solve. Right.
Yeah.
There's this idea that I have with a friend that is that they propose a solution, flat earthers, to one particular problem. And it sort of almost kind of, but not really works for that one problem. Right. But it introduces other problems off in a different spot. If you're to put these onto a chart, right? We have these columns that are the problem, and the row that's the solution, right? They'll intersect, right? It solves the problem there. But then you go to the next one, the next answer, and it conflicts with it, right? So all you have is this graph of this diagonal of things that work, the problem and the ad hoc crap solution that doesn't really solve it. And you have this diagonal, and then everything else off diagonal fails and conflicts with each other.
Because then they only have the solution for that one instance, and then everything, but that instance contradicts the other things. Yeah. Within their own model. Yes. So and that's what Witt said with my whole, how he will say one thing and just goes and bounces around it's like four different contradictory things I did in that one video where he basically contradicts himself in 4 different ways.
Witsit just yesterday said when somebody was talking to him, it was not FTFE, it was somebody else I think that came in and asked Witsit, what about the dome and why do we see the when we look south, why do we see? And he's like, well, if you take a flat piece of paper and you put circles around it, then you put the dome, acrylic dome on it, right? Which has an index of refraction of 1.5. And air has an index of refraction of just slightly above 1.
Right.
So it's not analogous, number 1. Number 2, you view it from outside the dome. Witsit, you're an idiot. You view it from outside the dome instead of inside the dome. And outside the dome, it makes it kind of, sort of, almost, but not quite, look like the stars might work. But we're not outside the dome. Yeah. We're inside the dome. It doesn't work. Show us what it looks like inside the dome. Oh, well, it wouldn't work.
Well, it's like their little glass domes they put over the top of. It's like we're not living in glass, guys. We don't.
Yeah. Then they're like, oh, let's take the flashlight and move it around the outside. Wait a second. Now the sun is outside the dome. So sometimes their ad hoc solution has the sun inside the dome, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes their ad hoc solution has the sun outside the dome. They conflict with each other. Can't be both.
Yeah. Yeah, Dirth has said that too. He thinks that it might be a hologram or some like sun behind the sun, where that's like what we see is the sun, but then there's the real sun behind the sun. It's like
that's from Santos. Santos says that the amount of stuff that Santos just makes up is outrageous.
Yeah, no, it is.
I've treated myself to a lot, way too much Santos lately.
No, he'll just hear a word and then he'll just take that word and it's like somehow the word itself is a proof, right?
Gary Wybenga, no flat earther said light accelerates up. Well, that's where you're wrong, Gary Wybenga. Tom Bishop and Pete Savarier, they propose that and they are flat earthers, Gary Wybenga, so you just lied. But Gary, I get it. It's your shtick to lie. You're all wrapped up in this your identity of being a liar. So that's it. Yeah. That's all right.
I'm curious what Gary's explanation is for Himawari images. If he has
I'm sure it's the compressed field of view.
Even
for some reason, when you take a picture with a smaller field of view, nothing changes, even though he says the field of view is part of it. I don't know. Doesn't make sense. All right, hold on a second. I got from Timo Lynch says for €5 says, if there's no gravity, why is there a pressure gradient in water? Is there dense water and less dense water in, say, a swimming pool or a bathtub? So that's a good question. That's a good thing. And here's another, it's an off diagonal, because they claim that in the atmosphere, the less dense gases are higher. The generally wrong. It's all mixed. They're like, well, it's helium, and then underneath it is this, and underneath it is this, and this, and this, and no. But then also the same people will say, well, the lights in the upper atmosphere is because of noble gases. Well, which noble gases are less dense than oxygen? Not all of them.
No.
I think helium and neon maybe.
Yeah.
I think argon is not. So you only got two. That doesn't help you. So anyway, the same idiots will claim the noble gases cause the different lights, even though they don't actually have all those lights in noble gases. They're not smart enough to know that.
Yeah.
And they'll claim that it's the density. But yes, that's a great thing, Timo Lynch, that contradicts it. It's an off diagonal for them. Why is the water, which definitely isn't more and less dense water, it's all the same water?
That's a good question. A good point.
And then let's see, let's see, Gary. Yeah, MC Toon is strawmanning flat Earth. No, I'm not, Gary Wabenga. Real actual flat earthers claim that. It's not your particular claim, but Gary, believe it or not, you're not the only flat earther, and not all flat earthers agree with you. I know, Gary, your ego, your narcissism has a hard time with that, but that's the case.
Yeah.
And then,
go ahead.
Let me. The Sun Express says, "What's the weather look like where it comes in contact with the dome? Weird. Flirps never test their deranged ideas."
Yeah, they don't. Well, they claim they can't go above 50 miles according to Witsit. I'm like, well, just even the amateur, like we were.
He just says he doesn't concern himself with that.
Right. But I mean, that's what they don't want it. They can't test anything above that limit because for whatever reason, even though this rocket that we just both showed on our YouTube channel went to 56 miles, the curvature we showed from what was his name? Kip. Yeah.
Tip. And then I actually didn't know how to pronounce his name. So I looked it up, and I think I hope I got it right. Dower Gertis.
Oh, I missed it. I messed up his pronunciation too. But that is, if anybody hasn't seen that is just, MC did a nice kind of short version of it. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful evidence of that we live on a globe.
And the anti-truthers that are in there, the flat earthers, are like, it's fisheye. But hold on a second. If it's fisheye, and so they must be claiming that the horizon is straight and that the lens is making it curved, then when it's above the center of frame, it would be curved looking convex. And when it's below center of frame, it would be curved looking concave. That's what the heavily distorted ones do to the horizon. Mm-hmm. But this one did not do that. Below center of frame, it's still convex.
Flat earthers don't get that. Even in a fisheye lens, right through the middle, horizontally and vertically, straight stays straight through the middle of a fisheye. Because you can do that with buildings, right? You can see that along the straight axis, it stays straight, but then it gets curved, yes. But so like you said, this camera showed all different views from above the horizon, below the horizon, to the left, to the right. And it stayed perfectly perfect. The curve was there in every single frame. And somebody said, and going to the source video, that they showed an example of the OEM lens, right? How it created a little bit of distortion. And the guy is like, he's like, you got to look at this part of the video where you can see the distortion. I'm like, they're just showing you the OEM lens and how they upgraded it to a better lens. They didn't use that. He thought that they used the OEM lens. And guess what? I didn't get any response after that. He dropped off because he realized that was his rebuttal to it. That they're
just looking for confirming evidence. They're not actually seeking the truth.
It's like, do you know what he was even
not
doing
truth
there?
Seekers.
No.
But we've got in the chat, we've got Astronomy, who's Weiskopf. We know him as Weiskopf, and he is. This is good. I love this. He says, my theories were better. I'm still fairly sure we're on a sphere though. So he's tomorrow. I think he's going to be talking with FTFE and his FTFE series on former flat earthers. So I look forward to that. That will be good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you're seeing. I was talking with him earlier this week about he was looking at the angle of sunset from where he lives, and it was coming off. It wasn't right. And I'm like, yeah, but your compass might be the issue, because I tested. I didn't think about this because I have not used the compass on my phone much, because I have my own magnetic compasses. I have 2 of them. This is my cheap one. This is kind of crappy. And this is a better one. It's not like a super good one, but it is nice, meant to be a one that works north and south of the equator. So the gimbal in it is a little better. It's not fantastic, but it's good enough. And so I put these 2 next to each other in my room here with the computer. And I have a laptop that I sit right here when I work. So during the day, I have a laptop here. It's a Mac, and it has magnets in the lid. And of course, I have a microphone here, right there now, and it's normally sitting right there. And down here, I had the magnets, and they're all off. I'm like, why are they off? Because I know that way is south. I know where my house is oriented, and they're all crooked. And my phone is off too. I'm like, what in the world? And so I took my phone, and I brought this up next to it. In here is a strong neodymium magnet, and I put this next to my phone. And I spun this around, and on the screen using the theodolite app, it was spinning. It was spinning the direction of that it was getting. And I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Even though the iPhone has a correction for it, you can turn on and off the magnetic versus true. It still uses the magnetic. It just adds the declination. So
nice.
Anyway, so he went outside. Got out of his building, wherever I don't know where he lived, right? But houses and apartments, and they all have metal all around them. They can screw up a compass. So he said he went outside and he checked again. And it's like, oh, then it was the right direction. So good for him on that. So
nice.
All right.
Well, the only last thing that I had was, did you see my little Witsit playlist that I created?
I have it queued up.
Because I just thought that was funny, because now we talked, and this is part of the whole debunking series, right? Where we have flat earthers debunking themselves. And to me, the finale is kind of Witsit. And you'll see, I titled this Nothing Exists. So the thing is, if nothing exists, then, well, the globe is here. We all have the globe, right? So in his model, everything is ether, but ether's not material. So it's like, anyway, it's just kind of funny, because these are highlights from the Flattoberfest, where he did an hour and something talk. And so if these are all his main points, and then he fills in between a bunch of quotes that, again, for him, supporting evidence is quotes.
Yeah.
He just goes quote mining. So
never mind evidence with it. He only has quotes.
But here's the thing, to see how ridiculous is what he says, I stripped all the quotes out. And what you're going to hear is just his main points minus the quotes. And it won't take long, because I kind of did the abbreviated version.
I'll play them all here. Here we go.
So if I say, did you guys know atoms don't actually exist? You may think that sounds crazy. There's no such thing as atoms. You've never seen an atom. No one's ever seen an atom. It doesn't exist. Atoms do not exist. The electron does not exist. There's no such thing as a negative charge carrying particle of a matter called the electron. If it's claimed to be like 100 million times smaller than the atom. So if you can't prove the atom, I can assure you're not proving the electron. There's no such thing as positive or negative charge. Yeah, no such thing. Doesn't exist. There is no such thing as positive or negative charge carrying particles. What is falsely called positive and negative charge is charging and discharging. There is no such thing as an emission of light. You might shoot a laser and think you're emitting light. You're not. That doesn't exist. Light does not travel from point A to point B. I know it sounds crazy. You're like, I shoot a laser. I can measure distances. It doesn't travel. I promise. It's already there. All evidence shows us this. So intrinsically, it does not have a speed. What is incorrectly called light is in fact nothing more than illumination of the ether. Again, ether is not a substance. Thus, it is not physical in the same way as the other elements like fire, water, earth, and air. Aristotle was right about some things, but I know it sounds real new agey or whatever you want. It's just what it is. This is like physics, though. This is not about
physics
being new age or woo-woo. So Ether is non-Cartesian, nor can it be measured, which means no location, extension, and no duration.
Wait,
so therefore, it doesn't exist. If I can't count it, it doesn't exist, basically. Light is not a wave.
Nothing exists, but that's just.
Yeah, I think one more.
Oh yeah.
Light is not a wave. I can wave my hand. I can't hand you a wave. Very simple concept. So light can't be a wave. This is like top tier physics, right? I mean,
one more.
Think of a bottle of wine. The wine is discharging, and the glass is charging. I couldn't think of a much simpler way to put that. That's all that it is. When they say something's positive and negative charging, something's building charge, something's losing its charge. It's literally that simple. And if you were taught that in second grade, you wouldn't be looking at me like I'm crazy right now.
He's crazy.
So the rest of the talk was a bunch of quotes. So that was kind of like his main outlines of well, he had other things he talked about, but it was just like when you strip it down, it's just wait, nothing's existing there. So what exists, Whitsitt? I mean, where's this physical? I mean, even if it's flat, isn't it physical? Isn't there something physical here? So I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting little kind of collage of his talking points. When you take out all the fluff, it just sounds kind of ridiculous, right? Just the overall.
Kind of. Very. Yeah, so that was his talk was titled Ether or something like that at the Flat Earth Society convention in the Freemason owned building.
Right. But I just could, when I'm hearing this, it's like, wow, how are people even, are they even hearing the words that are coming out of his mouth? I mean,
they're just gobbling it up.
They're
so dumb. They're like, oh, he's so smart.
Yeah. But like insulators and conductors, for example, that actually depends on electrons being discrete. And there's just so many little examples you say nothing exists. None of it exists.
All of these claims, and he's the one that'll talk constantly about you have to support your claim. You make a claim, you have the burden of evidence. You make a claim of specificity. He likes to say that.
Yeah.
And you have the burden of evidence. Where is that? When did you establish that none of these things exist and that whatever they're doing is by some other mechanism? When was that done? Because that's a specific claim. They don't exist. Okay, well, but we still see all of these properties that they have.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he's the one that they call in, like bringing in the big guns, right? As far as like the debates go, it's like bring in wits that or like Dirt has called him several times in some of the. It's like
because he can do the math.
Because he can.
Truth is, he's never done math.
Yeah, it's So I don't know. That's all I brought as far as just the different some of my favorite ways that flat earthers debunk themselves. And does anybody? I'm curious. Anybody in the chat if they have some of their favorites that they've heard how flat earthers just so how they debunk themselves just in a very in a way that would convince the most someone that's really like into the whole flat earth paradigm. I mean, because to me. I guess if they're really into it, they're not going to believe anything. Yeah, but somebody that's kind of on the fence a little bit has an open enough mind. I mean, I think some of these ones that we're sharing that have been, talked about a lot amongst the flat earth debunkers that I think are very convincing. I mean, I just watching that Jaron, that's why I just dropped everything. It's like, I got to get this out. I got to get this out there.
Yeah. Jaron, thanks you. You have convinced me that the earth is a sphere. Professor Phil Bells, where was that talk? That was at the Flat Earth Convention a couple weeks ago, and they are all on Karen B's channel.
Yeah, they're online now for free. Yeah.
Yeah, so you had to pay money to go there, or if you wanted, you could be a channel member and watch the live stream, or you could just wait and then they'll just post it anyway. So,
boy, and there was some there's some painful talks there. Oh gosh, and Whitsitt's wasn't the worst. I mean, I hate to say this, but his wasn't the worst even.
Whitsitt was the only one that actually kind of pretended to be science-y. The others were actually truly just religion. Marty Leeds, who they also say is the numbers guy. Well, he's not the numbers guy. He is the numerology guy. right? He's the guy that hunts out to find specific patterns in numbers, and he'll just keep going and iterating until he gets his desired results. You know, he's like, well, there's this many bones in your finger, therefore the earth is flat.
Yeah.
No connection. Marty Leeds is just a mindless moron, just like the rest of them. But
so
they're like, oh, he's got, anyway, he didn't even do that. He just talked about religion.
Yeah, it was, anyway, yeah, it was just kind of a painful, but anybody else got some, I'm just curious, anybody in the chat has some really good example. Didn't Rob, I mean, God bless, rest his soul, you know, Rob, what was his name? It was before my time. Skiba. Didn't he have like a high altitude proof where he sent a balloon up and it showed curvature? I thought I saw that somewhere.
I don't know if he did.
But it was relatively convincing though. I mean, I know some of the flat earthers try to do their balloons and then they get their images and they do something.
Hold on. M. Malone is back. Since you claim Mark Sargent chickened out of the $10,000 challenge, there is no $10,000 challenge from Mark Sargent. Oh, do you mean my $10,000 challenge to Mark Sargent where he didn't respond to the email I sent? That one? Yeah. You should contact Eric Dubay because he claims he would debate Michikaku if he had the opportunity. Again, M. Malone must not have been listening. So M. Malone, if you do that again, and if you're not actually listening, we don't need you in the chat. You can just go away. But he claims he would debate. Yeah. Eric Dubay is scared to debate me. Eric Dubay is a coward. Hold on. I just want to make sure that everybody sees. I'm just going to have full screen on myself here. Eric Dubay is scared to debate me. Eric Dubay is a coward. All you flat earthers that think Eric Dubay should debate me, your hero is a coward. He won't debate me. He knows that he will be made to look a fool and then lose money because he will be made to look a fool because I will disassemble all of his claims. There you go. Full screen just so that they can clip that. Anyway.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay, so we got Daryl E. Berry Jr. says Skiba did his balloon did show curve and he said it was in the video. All right. Is that video still up or did he hide it? I don't know.
Yeah, gotta look for that one.
Yeah, his channel is still up, and I think his kid has kind of taken it over. He's trying to ride on his dead dad's coattails, I think. So,
I mean, flat earthers kind of accidentally debunk themselves all the time, but you know, some of these like Jaron and Bob, they're such big scale, like in actual, you know, documentaries and you know, where they're getting just you know perhaps millions of views. So those are the ones I'm kind of interested in. Are there any more like kind of big scale like flat Earth influencers that have done some
testing and it didn't work out for them?
Yeah, it didn't work out for them. Were they? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll see if anybody.
Because it'd be nice just to get a nice complete list of all those. You know, I mean, I just like a kind of a top 10 summary of all the best self debunks of all time within the flat Earth. The Papa Flerpderps or whatever you want to call them. Let's see, was there any? Oh, there was one I saw on flatearth.ws. In Indonesia, an Indonesian Eratosthenes experiment.
Oh,
that did not go too well for them. It's actually on flatearth.ws. If you look up Jaron, if you do a search for Jaron on flatearth.ws, one of his posts has these self debunks. You know, which of course Bob's is there and Jaron's is there, but he had this Indonesian Eratosthenes experiment too, where it basically the punchline is that it confirmed the globe. It didn't work. It didn't go their way.
Yeah. Oh, so there was another one. Patrick Shank. Shank. He's super toxic and he's also super scared. He just blocks me everywhere, and I've never given him a reason to block, but. He can't be contradicted, but he was doing a thing on his Facebook group where people were on one day, they were all going to view the moon. And they actually did the work to figure out where you should and should not see the moon for that particular day. And they're all excited. Like, well, if we see the moon where we shouldn't see it, then that's globe debunked. And of course, that didn't happen. They only saw the moon where you should see the moon, and they didn't see it where you shouldn't see it. And for some reason, he doesn't seem to have made a big deal about it anymore.
Speaking about the moon, Patrick Tamponia has this one. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Unflat Earth mentioned the photo that brought Ranty back to the globe was taken by another flat earther, which is Bev, of Blackpool Tower with the mountains in the background. So there was a popular picture by a professional photographer of Blackpool Tower across some body of water, right?
Yeah.
From south. I don't know the names. And Ranty looked at that, and he did the actual analysis of the tower and the mountain in the background. And he's like, oh, wait a second. If the Earth were flat, then that relationship must be drastically different, very, very much different. And it wasn't, of course. It was as the globe predicted. And he did that, and he's like, well, okay. And then Bev went back to the same place, took a picture from almost the same location, and uploaded it. And Ranty looked at that and said, oh, look, all of the ratios are the same. So it wasn't like a temporary thing. It wasn't just a day of refraction going in some different direction. And so, yep.
And is he, what's Ranty up to these days? Is he just doing his own thing? Or
he kind of he did a bunch of flat earth debunking things then for a bit, but then he got tired of it, and he changed his channel to Auditing the Absurd, and he did a big thing on the Johnny Depp trial. He did every day during that trial. He did a live stream, and so I was never interested in the Johnny Depp stuff. That kind of drama just doesn't get me, but a lot of people loved it, and he had a lot of success with that. So I don't know what he's been up to lately.
Now, do you have a list of people that have converted? You said you have a. I'm curious just to see. The number.
FTFE has interviewed several of them. So yeah, you got Ranty, you got Jose JG Gonzalez, which, by the way, we didn't say this before. That camera that Jaron used to film the ISS.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Went to Jose JG Gonzalez.
Right.
Who's no longer a flat earther.
Right.
And the camera's name is the
Jaron. I love that.
So that's Jose. You've got Sean G. Right? Is that Sean G? There's a guy, Clear Cognition, but I haven't seen him do anything for a while. Seek Truth, Speak Truth. Love that guy. I love him. And he has his new channel that we talked about on Tuesday, A Part of History. I really enjoy that channel.
Well, it's good to know. I mean, so it's not the whole thing. Once you go flat, what do they say again?
Once you go flat, you never go back. They say, yeah, but that's not true. Of course, they all lie like, well, they were never really a flat earther. Like you jerk, you don't know.
I mean, Ranty actually was, though. He really was. Wasn't he like a big flat Earth proponent when he was?
Ranty is probably the biggest name, that in their community. Because he was in with Nathan Oakley, on the Daily Show there, and so
interesting, very interesting.
All right, yeah. Daryl E. Barry Jr. emailed me with the stuff from Rob Skiba, so thank you for that. I'll have a look at that. Oh, that reminds me. Tiger Dan is another one. So Tiger Dan, he had some struggles. So Tiger Dan was going to make the very first flat Earth map that was accurate. So he had done all this, and he had announced it, and he showed what he's doing in some drawing program, and he had all the continents and everything. He's like, I'm gonna put the distances correct. And so he did a series of videos where he worked through this, and he never was able to get it to work, right? So he's using the flight distances between places, and he just, here's South America, and here's Australia, and there's this flight between these two cities. Okay, there's that length. Okay, and then here's that's Sydney to Santiago, right? And then here's Sydney to someplace in North America, and Sydney to some other place, and some Sydney to some other place. And he did that with a bunch of them, and he wound up with, it didn't work. He's like, well, I got Australia here, and I got another Australia here. It just doesn't work. I can't make it work.
Yeah.
And during this process, then the flat earthers started getting a little agitated. And then he got to the end. He's like, it doesn't work. This just doesn't work. And then they attacked him. And he stopped making videos and eventually deleted his channel or shut it down or whatever. So
wait, I think I posted his video on my, I have an impossibleflight.net, a page I'm going to keep adding to.
Oh.
I think I put his video there where he said he was an ex-flat earther. And he said it was because of these impossible flights that he just quit flat earth. Cause he said, I'm here to tell you to go on and live your life because this just doesn't work. And it might not have been him, but let me see here. And that's a page. Eventually I'm going to really get into that because Dearth, when I brought that up during our first debate, they just went off on some crazy tangents. And they said they had some guy that took the Sydney to Santiago flight and he mapped the whole course and they took it right straight across the flat earth map. I'm like, there's just no way.
It's not the route that he took. Yeah.
I know, of course, but it's like, where's the evidence, guys? You make this claim that you got somebody on board that's somehow charting out this flight, but yet you have no evidence.
Yeah.
And I tried to bring up like Wolfie 6020's flight logs and, how you can go to FlightAware and download the actual flight logs and you can map out these trajectories.
They just have denial.
It's just denial because it's a ridiculous arc that goes around. And I mean, the map is one of the things that really just debunks when you really put pencil to paper and try to work out those distances. If like this guy, Tiger Dan, if you're honest about it like he was, you're going to come to the same conclusion as he came to. I mean, you just, especially the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah. So they have to play tricks. They have to say those flights don't exist, or they actually go faster, or they take a different route, or whatever. They just have to make up stuff, which is lies about it. Because those flights do exist. Max Egan took it when he was maybe a flat earther. You could just go get on it. If you really want to show that it's not true, go down to Sydney, book the flight, and wait. Wait a week. Wait 2 weeks. Try every day. And if after 2 weeks, every single time that flight, which is 5 days a week, every single time that flight doesn't go after 2 weeks, say, hey, our claims about you can't fly the flight are true because we tried every day for 2 weeks. No. I mean, you've got flat earthers down there.
Yeah.
Send the flat earther to go every day. Just pay for the flight. Pool your money. You are your truth seekers. If you're truth seekers, do it. See if the flight really exists.
Well, I even told Dirt, I'm like, well, what if you and I met in Denver, which I think is pretty close to the trajectory from Sydney to Santiago, and we fly, to Sydney and come back across, because it should be, if this actually is the flat Earth, and we can just go from across to one to the other, we should be able to but the thing is, he wouldn't trust the GPS. He doesn't trust GPS. He doesn't trust. It's like, well,
what do you trust then?
Exactly. What do you trust?
You are smarter than all the scientists in the world there, Dearth. You're the one that knows more than them, apparently. You figure out your location and you do what you think is acceptable.
Exactly. I mean, but I would almost literally, I mean, fortunately, I'm in a good place financially. I would almost, if he would really come along and do that, and we could somehow chart the flight, if he had an acceptable way to measure it, which of course, that's the stumbling block. He wouldn't believe any type of GPS or.
Would you believe how long you were in the plane? Would you believe looking out the window and not seeing the things that you would have to see if the Earth were flat? Right. The Santiago to Sydney flight would have to go over North America and Mexico and South America.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And you would never see out the south window. You'd never see ice.
That's a good idea. We could just clock at we can just, you kind of map, chart the flight, and you can see about at this time we should see land over this point. And because the way that it really arcs around over a lot of water, right? I mean, and
it goes south. It goes south of New Zealand. And the one to Johannesburg goes south of all Australia. It leaves Sydney and goes south of Australia.
Yeah, that's the map is. I mean, that's a big. And you've done some stuff with that map. You got it sitting behind you right there. The whole challenge that you still haven't been paid for, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's on my wall here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right in your background.
Yeah. Well, I gave him an out, actually. I said, send half the money to a charity, and I told him what charity, $1,000 a month. He's coming up on those 50 months pretty soon. And then keep the rest. I will issue flat earth challenges, and the only way people could win the money is if the earth were flat. And I did issue 2 challenges off of that money. And of course, nobody's claimed it. One is the gravity challenge, which I started and then I got sidetracked. I'm going to reissue using my own money.
Guess what came today? I haven't assembled yet. Guess what came today?
Move it to the middle.
Oh,
it's off camera. Oh, is that the?
Well, this is the Cavendish. Now it's not assembled yet. The balls are in the other room, but basically there's going to be 2 small balls here, and there's going to be an arm right with the larger lead balls, and it's got a whole bunch of little things that'll attach here. But it has an electronic input to where I'll be able to get my computer and to graph the swings, the oscillations, and then eventually it'll come to rest, and you can measure, displacements and all that stuff. But it's pretty high tech, and my other Cavendish isn't quite as accurate. This one will be a little more accurate, I think. But that should be some fun. So my goal is to do 2 Cavendish experiments, and I'm from 2 different devices. And if I get the same within 2% margin of error, because these ones aren't super like the ones you and I have talked, you got on your website, but you can still get a reasonable amount of accuracy. But 6.67 times 10 to the minus 11, even if you're off by a little bit, if I get that similar value on 2 different Cavendish machines, what are the odds of it being electrostatics or something else causing it, right?
Yeah, or they're like, all you did was prove that like attracts like. Well, that's a thing? Well, if it did, then the magnitude wouldn't be directly proportional to the mass of like and like.
Do they even understand how 6.67 times 10 to the minus 11, how ridiculously precise of a number that is? That is such the laws of probability that you're going to get that by some kind of a chance, or electrostatics, which can vary with charge. I mean, it's just like winning the lottery is much better odds than something like that. I mean,
all right. M. Malone here says, what's your explanation for the midnight sun moving in a wave motion rather than a sawtooth motion? Hope I didn't miss this answer from earlier. I don't quite know what you mean, the midnight sun moving in a wave motion. Do you mean in the Arctic and Antarctic? If that's what you mean, then it should move in a wave motion. It should not move in a sawtooth motion. All of the motions of the relationships between the Earth and the Moon and the Earth and the Sun are generally sine waves and sine cosine types relationships. So when we're coming up now in December 21st to the solstice, and when the amount of difference of daylight hours, for example, the time difference between sunrise and sunset, that difference from one day to the next gets smaller and smaller, and it's a tiny amount on December 21st, right? And then it starts to grow a little bit and grow a little bit more and grow a little bit more. And then the velocity of the change in the duration of daylight time is maximum at the equinoxes. It's a sine cosine relationship. They think it should be a jaggedy or something.
Yeah, why would that be? I mean, of course, with their model, the sun has to speed up and slow down as it's circling around the...
What makes it speed up and slow down? And some of them say that it moves up and down, that it changes elevation, which doesn't make sense because all observations from the southern hemisphere are the same as from the northern hemisphere, just 6 months shifted.
Yeah.
The angles, the times, all of those things. Yeah, 6 months shifted. So if the sun was changing in elevation, none of that would happen.
Yeah, and just so many contradictions. Like you said, the diagonals of contradictions. It's a long diagonal. It just keeps going down and down.
Microraptor's in Sweden, by the way. What time is it in Sweden? It's late o'clock. Microraptor says, does Bryant even cuss, bro?
Oh yeah, I cuss. I try not to with my interactions with flat earthers though, and I try to avoid name calling. And I even told Jaron this, which they've called me liars and all kinds of names. I might attack the flat earth things they say and call it ridiculous and nonsensical and all these things, but I try not to attack them personally. I don't always succeed I do my best.
I mean, sometimes we call Dearth derp or dirt or dearth. It's Dave Weiss. And Jaron, people give different names for Jaron. I don't.
I've heard a couple of those.
I don't think we need that. Anyway, so let's see. We got a couple here. First, speaking of Mr. QTube, first name Fa. So if the way that his name used to be, used to make you say swear words.
Oh.
And I would say it in a different order. That's the order I would say it in. And he changed his name to that, actually. Says, when I was a little kid, I tried to plug in my sister's necklace. Trust me, electrons exist. I felt them.
That's a good one.
Harry Sevens is top tier physicist. Physics requires top shelf tabs. You're right. And then Indie Tiger Sci-Fi Review says Mark Sargent showing a map of flight routes, claiming that there are no direct southern routes, but the map shows direct southern flight routes. That's absolutely gorgeous when he did that.
That's another one to add to the list. Is there footage of that? That would be.
Yeah, it's one of his earliest ones.
Oh, brilliant! I want to get a Mark Sargent, the blooper reels here of Flat Earth self debunks.
He's mostly just he's.
Does he really still live with his mom? He doesn't live with his mom anymore, does he?
As far as I know, he does. Yeah.
Oh.
Because during the Behind the Curve, which was filmed
during that
2018, that wasn't that long ago. But I think he's in the same place. Like he's going to live there. And then she's going to die, and then he's going to get the house.
Oh.
Right? And he's, of course, and he's still pining for Patricia Steer.
But who's going to take care of him, though? I mean, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, who's going to cook for him? I don't think Karen B's going to stop by. She's in South Carolina. All right, so I want to remember this. The videos of Tiger Dan. I looked his channel. Last I looked, his channel was still there, but the videos weren't there. So here's what I'm offering to the 322 people watching. Can you find those videos archived somewhere? Not just like little clips. I want the whole set of videos. I'm guessing it's on an archive somewhere. It's mirrored somewhere. It's somebody has them sitting on a hard drive somewhere. If you can find them, I will send you a Toonies mug. Toonies, right there. A coffee mug with this logo on it. There it is. Contact me, email, and if there's a bunch, I'll probably just give it to the first one to contact me. If there's two of you, you can both have it. Maybe I'll give it to the first two to find it. How about that?
Nice. I wonder. I'm just getting me curious now if that video I have is him.
Yeah. I need all of them. All of them doing not just.
Okay.
I do have. I found, and I'm not going to give it out. I found an archive of flat Earth videos that some guy had, and it is a large collection of idiocy. Like, it's every idiot out there. Dana Ashley, an anti-5G person who knows nothing. Flatzoid's even on there. Hey, Flatzoid. Let's see. Tiger Dan. Anyway, it's a long list. I'm scrolling right now. Orphan Red. Jeez. All right. Nope, it's not on there. So that particular one isn't on there, or Tiger Dan isn't on there. So anyway, that's it. That's my challenge to everybody. If you can find that.
Do you have any debates?
You had an invitation to if anybody wanted to improve on the Thanks Jaren.
Oh, right. Yeah. If you go to the dfe.net /ISS, again, my graphic design, she's just was busy today, but she did a pretty decent job. But, the Thanks Bob little meme that goes around with the animation, I think is just so well done. Right. And we it's just everywhere, so I kind of would love to see that kind of a trend with the Thanks Jaren. And so if anybody, is really good at it, feels inspired with graphic design, that's something we can all share. I think it'd be great to have. I mean, gosh, Jaren's he's got a couple really good ones. I mean, he's proved curvature. He's proved the ISS space. Yeah. And at some point I want to do a Thanks Dearth with I might get my graphics designer to do a little Antarctica one with him. Because again, he's got people, think about it. He's got, even if they're on the fringes of Antarctica, they should still be able to see the 24-hour sun.
Yeah.
I mean, they should still be able to, the impossible sunlight, the big dark. I mean, it's like there's a lot of things that they could still be observing down there that can't happen on a flat Earth.
Think about it. If you're on, it's not that hard, flat earthers. Pool your money and go down there. Like, we can't explore. You can, but whatever. Just go there. Go down there in December, right? Get down here, right? And then wait. In the middle of the night, does the sun appear this direction? If the sun appears this direction, right? But on this map, it's here. Clearly, you're wrong.
That is just...
Obviously, you're wrong. Just go do it. Pool your money. If you're truthers, if you actually care about the truth, test it. I've been saying it lately in my videos. Cult leaders never want to have their claims tested.
No, and if we can reach out to maybe those one or two people in Antarctica, maybe we could somehow, it's like, hey, I'll give you a little donation to your favorite charity if you'll maybe take a 24-hour sun, and the fact that you're on Dearth's app.
Well, and they have, though. There are video of people from there, and they just claim CGI.
But I'm saying if it's someone that's actually on his app, though, I know there are people that have done that. I'm just saying that if we can get someone that's actually on his app to do it, that would be just priceless.
Well, no doubt the people that have his app aren't Flerpderps that are down in Antarctica.
Probably not.
Right? They're not, because they see the 24-hour sun.
I mean, of course, with the fact that Dearth says that he's talked to them, they might have just been playing along or something.
He said one was out in the middle of nowhere. How did that person out in the middle of nowhere communicate with you, Dearth? They don't have. There's no Ethernet cable pulled to the middle of nowhere in Antarctica. It's through a satellite.
But how can they even get there in the middle of nowhere based on their idea that we can't? That's why I just felt he really self-debunked himself, because the whole claim is there's just some magical. You put like penguins with like guns. Wasn't that you that did that?
Yes.
Because it's got to be something like that, because there's where's the proof of all these armed forces that are protecting the border?
Well, yeah, and it's the thing is also on their map. It's not a small area. It's about 60,000 miles. It's a massive area. How are they guarding this whole area? Flat Earthers, go ahead, call up Tanner Stewart, the Satanist, and ask him to fund your trip down to Antarctica, right? Don't tell anybody where you're going or when you're going, but make sure you live stream it once you get there, because we want to see you get out there and walk around on the ice shelf and scratch your head saying, dang, it's cold. Now what? There was nobody here to stop us.
There was a good comment that came up in the chat on the Antarctica, when I brought up Antarctica in my past video, is that when the next level, right, when they did that documentary where they said that they were trying to get to Antarctica, but they got stopped. Now, that wasn't anywhere close to Antarctica. They were somehow but I never got have you heard the definitive answer on that? Was it like a wildlife protected area or something? It was something like that, where it was either like oil drilling or
it's my understanding that
some
the Australian military was doing maneuvers in that area.
Oh, okay. But they were nowhere near Antarctica. They were not even.
They were in the Bass Strait, which is north of it's north of Tasmania.
Right, north of Tasmania.
Between Australia and it was like 38 degrees. I'm farther north than they were south, as far I think. I don't know.
But in the next level, they were trying to make it sound like they were like that. They were trying to get into Antarctica and getting blocked, and that is such deception.
It is. Gotta lie to Flurf.
But I mean, but they weren't even close. I mean, if they were maybe, you know, an island a little bit off Antarctica, maybe you could give them a little forgiveness. But they should.
That boat that they were in couldn't have got there anyway.
What's his name?
It's a fishing boat.
One of my favorite commenters on my channel, he's been to Antarctica, and I'd love to do a show sometime with him on, because he's actually been there. And he said the boats that you got to go in, they have to have huge amounts of, I'm no expert on this, but, to get through the ice and all that, they have to really be heavily. And he was laughing at that. It's like that boat, they would have never gotten.
No,
you can't go in a boat like
people. Yeah, here, Charlie. I've spent a year at McMurdo. It was for a job, not hard to do.
I don't. That this is such.
You need a ship, not a boat. It's their dumbest thing, and of course they won't test it. They constantly claim that they can't go, they can't do free exploration. Well, go ahead, apply for a permit. We have to apply for a permit. Yeah. So apply for a permit. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We want to explore. Okay. And the Antarctic Treaty is the opposite of everything you claim. The Antarctic Treaty says everybody going must tell everybody else when they're going. You can't keep secrets down there. You can't have the military down there. You have to let other people see what you're doing. Right? It's the opposite.
It just debunks the whole
nobody wants to send out a multi-million-dollar search crew because you're a bunch of idiots that are going down there, and then you got lost 1 mile from the water, and you have no clue what you're doing because it's just freaking ice.
Yeah, it's harsh conditions for sure. I mean, but it's just one of them, like you said, Flerpderps millionaire. I mean, they got to know that they got to be just afraid to go down there because they know that it just debunks their whole model, the fact that it exists.
Yeah. I mean, or start with the North Pole. There's no Arctic treaty. There's nobody guarding the North Pole. Just go. You can go there in April. There's a marathon every year.
I mean, it's not as damning to their model because at least the North Pole on the flat Earth map is still kind of.
But as we speak,
it's not smeared around.
As we speak, Austin and Jaron's big stupid Mount Meru summit is all about their dumb idea that they can't go to the North Pole and that there's a magical magnetic mountain there. Right? They've got Sean Hibbler, who is so stupid that in his own video, he showed a compass where there's a North Pole and a South Pole on his video. And then 10 seconds later, he says, nobody's ever seen a compass point south. This part of it points south, Sean Hibbler, you absolute moron.
Wait, is that on video? I want to get that.
It's in the next level. He says it. It's in that same video. Sean Hibbler, the guy that made the video.
Yeah, I know he made it.
He chose to put a compass pointing south 10 seconds before he said no compass points south. Sean, you are stupid. Anyway, right now, these idiots are having their Mount Meru summit talking about this mountain that they think is at the North Pole.
Wow. And in fact, Whitsitt even admitted on a previous live stream that, as I told you, that he admitted that, oh yeah, the poles are wandering. He wasn't even denying that. And we know on the globe, through the dynamo theory, there's the Earth's magnetic sphere actually flips every, on average, it's a big time period of 700,000 years.
Yeah. People haven't measured it while understanding magnetism.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
But it's the dynamo, our core, our molten core, and it's electromagnetic that creates this dynamo. But on the flat Earth, if they're just talking about a static mountain, how is that one? How
is that mountain moving?
Yeah, the whole mountain's got to be moving then, right? And the fact that Whitsitt, I get it if he denies that the magnetic poles are wandering, but he didn't deny it. He's like, no, the scriptures say the poles. He was trying to draw it from scriptures, right? So the whole mountain's moving around. It's like a magic mountain that's got wheels on it, or
ignore the mountain for a second. They must think that, well, this is a sphere, of course, but they must think that there's like a permanent magnet under the dirt of the flat Earth.
Right.
How does this permanent magnet inside the dirt move around? And if they agree that it flips, how is this permanent magnet inside the dirt flipping? How?
I don't think they agree that it flips, but the fossil records show that it definitely has. I mean, it's in geology textbooks even, because we got the record.
They deny that the Earth is that old.
Yeah, that's true.
So they just hand wave reject all of that.
But he was acknowledging the fact that the poles are moving, and it's like I'm
getting a little derped out here. Hold on a second. Okay, better.
I look forward. That'll be fun watching the recording of that conference. Once.
I don't know. I see in the chat the Ultimate Reductionist. I see the Ultimate Reductionist in the comments all the time of the videos, but I just a few times have I seen you in the live chat. So welcome, Ultimate Reductionist. He sometimes posts some things that I'm like, I can't let that go through, because YouTube auto holds a lot of things that he posts. Like, dude, don't talk about those things, okay? I can't let that through. But some of your other stuff, you're fine. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about, Ultimate Reductionist. I'm going to read that. I'm going to read this, what he said, though, because it's perfect. I am sick to death of hearing smug, arrogant a-holes say college degrees are useless. That's the same thing as asking, is entertainment useful? So that is the question to ask. Yeah. How did this phone get made? The physics that was figured out by people that went to college, mostly. Maybe some of the people that didn't go to college too. But you're not going to go and make the next phone without getting some education from somewhere, right?
That's what I keep saying. There's no flat Earth school of applied science. I mean, if we had the flat Earth running the world, we'd go back in the dark ages, because they don't have an equation to make any predictions, let alone make any technology. They got nothing.
Well,
I mean,
they
what
couldn't
can you
even
make?
fly a plane, because a large portion of flat earthers think that airplanes run on air, not fuel.
And they think rockets have to have an air too they don't understand the momentum principle, conservation of momentum.
Third law, the third law of motion. Lael says, I've debated on a flat earth server where they disregard a shape with only 3 sides is called a triangle. Sorry, spherical trigonometry. They can't even fathom that, and when you give them a citation to it, they're like, nuh-uh. So spherical trigonometry, the surface of a sphere, a straight line is a great circle, right? And that's the definition of it, right? When you look from an external source, it's going around the sphere, but within the 2-dimensional surface of that sphere, that's what a straight line is. And when 3 straight lines intersect, that's a triangle, right? From an external source, you can see that there's an arc to it. But when you're on the 2-dimensional surface that is the surface of the sphere, That's what it is. And you get a triangle within the definition of spherical geometry. That's what you get. And they just reject that. They just say it doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. There's a good book on flatland to try to visualize being in 2 dimensions as a visualization to go to higher dimensions. It's kind of interesting if you're on this 2-dimensional, if you were a 2-dimensional like being, you wouldn't be able to see that curvature that we can see from an extra dimension above it. But you can measure the curvature, like you say, the spherical excess.
Yeah. Vadim says, anyhow, I don't believe that Bryant is all that learned. I bet he can't explain cations and dog ions. Prove him right.
That's funny. There's some jokes with cat ions, and I think kind of referencing that what you're getting at, cats and dogs. I think it's anions and cat ions, not dog ions.
Cat ions and dog ions. But no, so cation, Trey Hutchinson, flat earther Trey Hutchinson. I was debating him. He claims to be a mechanical engineer.
Wow.
But he's not. He went to college and he got a degree, I think a 2-year degree. He says bachelor's, I don't know. Anyway, he got a degree, he says, in digital media design or something like that. And the place he works builds things for boats. Things that you clamp on the top of a boat to pull skiers and stuff like that. And I think that what happened is at that place, they gave him the title mechanical engineer. And in his tiny little brain, he thinks, I'm a mechanical engineer, without understanding that when you say you're a mechanical engineer, you are implying that you went to a university and you got a 4-year degree in mechanical engineering, which includes about a year of college level chemistry, multiple years of physics, a whole bunch of things on statics and dynamics and all these things that you'd get. And then after that, if you were going to then have the title of a mechanical engineer, of that type of mechanical engineer, typically would then go and get yourself a test. You'd take a test, the ABET test. I don't know. I never took it.
Yeah.
And then you'd have some sort of certification. He didn't know any of that stuff. He just said he's a mechanical engineer because his title is. Anyway, he was reading an article. He's trying to establish something about Antarctica. And he's reading this paper that he sent me, and I'm reading it too. Actually, I was just looking at it, or I was just listening to him read it because he hadn't sent it to me. And he's reading on this about halides and that sodium is the major cation. And chlorine is the major anion. I go, hold on a second. Back up a little bit. What was that? Sodium is the major cation. Well, read one more time. Sodium is the major cation. I said, what is a cation? Oh, it's the thing, the main thing. It's the I go.
The cat.
I said, no. It's a cat ion. It's not cation. He goes, well, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Well, what's a cat? It's a category ion. No, it's a positively charged ion. Sodium minus an electron becomes a cat ion. And the other one is anion, not anion. And he doubled down on it. And I said, you're doubling down. He goes, I'm going to triple down on it. Like, oh my gosh. That's where cations come from.
Oh, okay. That's funny. I mean, is that on video? Is there?
Yeah, it's on. And if you want a shortcut, I clipped out just a portion of it.
Oh, that's a great one to add. That's funny. I don't know, how does that support the claim that the Earth is flat, though? Is there somehow reasoning behind it?
Yeah, because his point was that Antarctica is made of salt, boy. That's what he said. He actually ended with boy. Yeah, because
salt?
and it was the word. Yeah, it was the word ubiquitous. Said halite is ubiquitous. Right, so halite is a mineral that's formed primarily from salt.
Yeah,
table salt, no sodium chloride. And it's ubiquitous. It means they found it all over the place, which makes a lot of sense. It's ice, right? Yeah. And it's been surrounded by the ocean. And anyway.
Yeah.
But he thought ubiquitous meant that that's what it's made of.
Oh, so he didn't know what ubiquitous meant either.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I've got, oh my gosh. The sun expresses Flurf intelligentsia. Magnetic north of compass points to North Pole, which means North Pole is actually South Pole. Conspiracy. Actually, what I think that they think is that a compass isn't, they don't know that a compass is actually a magnet. They think that the north part of a compass is attracted to magnetism, and the south part, the other part of it, the white part of it, is not attracted to magnetism. That's what they think, for the most part.
They must.
That's what, and so when they say that there's a magnetic mountain, they think, well, that magnetic mountain is drawing the north part of the needle towards it because it's attracted. They don't understand that it aligns with the magnetic fields.
But even their drawings of the magnetic field from the Mount Meru, it's not the right field line patterns of what we know and experience, right? That you can measure with it's not even close. I mean, it's just
some of them just
silly.
reject that declination even exists. All right, we've got Renee Calucia, who sometimes has gone by Earth is seriously flat. He's changed his tactic. He says globe is pseudoscience. I don't think you know what pseudoscience is. And then he says, be smarter. And then he says something else I'm not going to read. And then he comes in again with don't fall for it, avoid. And I'm not going to read it. And pseudoscience. So he wants people to avoid pseudoscience. But Renee, you don't actually know what science is. Tell you what, Renee, type into the chat just one quick thing. What's the demarcation between science and not science? Just type that in there. Don't anybody give them the answer. Just go ahead, Renee. Just type in the main delineation, the main demarcation between science and not science. Just one word should do it.
Yeah.
Most people will have just that one word. You should be able to if you know what science is, you should be able to just type it in. Just go ahead, Renee. Just type. Boom, there's what it is. One word. It's all you really need.
Let's hear it. I'd love to. Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh yeah. All right. So while he's typing that medium length word, it's a little longer. Yes. Trey Hutchinson. He was talking about refraction. He talked about it, because it's Snell's law.
Snell's law is what he said.
Yes, Snell's law. And then, all right, I'm gonna have to find it in here because this is my notebook. I'm like, oh well, what is Snell's law? Right? I corrected him on that. I'm like, well, what is Snell's law? Just tell us what's Snell's law. And he drew a picture of it. He drew a picture of Snell's law. I said, oh yeah, but it's an equation. What's Snell? He said, it's not an equation. I said, yeah, it is. It is. It is an equation. All right.
Do you know who this guy TB is that comments a lot in different places? He just doesn't stop. And some people have their theories on who this guy is. He's really, but we were debating about Snell's law, but he just
they just make up their own alternative reality,
But yeah, his handle is TB.
Yeah,
T like underscore.
Yeah,
you've seen him.
I think he's an Oakley acolyte. He's in the
because his responses are a little more thought out than the average comments you get from flat earthers.
Oh yeah, here it is. So I wrote out Snell's law partially. I just wrote this part. I said, all right, here's part of Snell's law. Right here. Right? That's part of Snell's law. I said, well, what's the rest of it? And he, of course, he knows more than all the scientists in the world about Snell's law and how refraction works. But when I showed him this, he couldn't complete Snell's law. Right? Which is just the other half is if you've ever seen Snell's law and you're given this one, you're like, oh yeah. I don't think you need to memorize equations, right? You can look them up.
No.
But if you've been given this, if you know Snell's law and you've been given this,
Yeah, you know the
You
other
can
half.
get the other part because you've seen it before. He couldn't do it. All right, did Renee give an answer? Renee, he says magnetic declination is also pseudoscience. No, it's not. Magnetic declination is actually measured. Renee, apparently you don't know what pseudoscience is, Renee. Are you... So Renee, you have absolutely no place to say anything about pseudoscience because you don't know what pseudoscience is. The answer, by the way, for the main demarcation between science and not science, falsifiability. Read that. All right. No, I didn't think he'd give a correct response. Of course, no flat earther actually knows the delineation, the demarcation between science and not science. Lael says, Renee, shouldn't you be stealing keys instead of super chatting? And then Renee says, try verifying distance of Polaris light years. Also, it's pseudoscience. It's not pseudoscience. It's got a great, it is completely falsifiable, in fact. Since it's falsifiable, it's science.
Well, they
Anyway.
brought up that in the first debate too, that Polaris that we initially measured it and it ended up being, but it's like they refined their model when they got the better parallax measurements. Because when you do that, I mean, it's a very hard to get because it's such a small amount. But then those errors actually help them to refine their understanding. That's how science works. If we make an error in our measurements and we find out a better measurement, then we update our model and our model gets better and better and better.
Yeah, and that's not a fault of science. That's why science is so good. You don't start with a conclusion, right? And then only accept things that match it. You follow it to the conclusion, and if it contradicts what you want, then you update it, right?
Yeah.
Then you update your expectations. Say, that was wrong.
Well, the flat Earth version of that would have been, we measure a new distance to Polaris, but we're not going to believe it. We're just going to stick with what we think.
We'll keep the old one. Yeah.
We'll keep the old one. Yeah.
Or even more, don't even test it, because cult leaders hate having their ideas tested.
So true.
All right. Well, I think we should get going here.
This is good.
We really should. Now, Renee, the Earth is seriously flat, Renee. I keep asking you. I want you to come back, right? And you can bring we could have one of two topics, either flat Earth or 5G, because you think 5G is all sorts of bad.
Or how about both in one? You could do maybe a hybrid debate. No.
I've tried that before. It
doesn't fly.
Because you can fill the entire time. I mean, these derp people, they're just random derp generators. They can go for 2 hours. Anyway, Brenda asks if you've met Mallory yet.
Me?
Yeah.
I haven't. No.
No. All right. Well, you're in for a real treat.
You've debated. Is it him or her? Is it
Mallory? Yeah, her.
Yeah, you've debated her, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't met her yet. No, I haven't met. There's a lot of people I haven't met in the whole.
Yeah, she's a trip. She's a trip. She asked me the other day if I won't spoil it. Go on to her Discord server, people. She's planning something and has asked me to participate. I don't know if if it's out yet. So anyway. Should book Bryant versus Mallory.
It would be. I mean, I wouldn't back down if they called me out, if they really wanted it.
All right, I will ask Mallory if she'll debate you. People, hold on a second. Let me just put in a quick poll.
I just got to. I don't think I've even.
Nope, you can't.
I didn't even watch the debate with you and her, so I don't know what I'm in for.
You cannot. If you're going to do it, you have to come into it completely. Okay. Not having any context.
Hey, I'm happy to do that. Actually, That would be
All
some
right, there's
fun.
the poll, people. Go vote in that poll quick.
I would at least want to, like, does she show herself on the debates? Just see what she looks like and just hear her voice, maybe, just for context.
She's not been on camera, so I that's probably not going to happen.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Here,
But would it make
here
for
are-
a good debate though?
Oh yeah, it's entertaining for sure. Here is just for reference. They were down here. I need to put them back up there on the bookshelf. Here is some of the DVDs of the homeschooling math stuff. There it is. And we got Witzett's favorite. Yeah, Witzett's favorite word. Gamma. Gamma, gamma, gamma. He loves.
I mean,
gamma.
speaking of homeschooling, should we play that little clip or not? With Karen B. I don't know.
Karen.
Karen B. kind of ended up with.
I closed it down. We gotta wrap.
Whoa.
We gotta wrap here. We'll get the results of the poll. I have one super chat here from Peter Luigi Asproni or Asproni. Thank you for that. Says, always enjoy your debates, and you're right. Science is always replaced by better science. Religion never does. Absolutely. Well, we've got Microraptor says, Bryant, we care about you, run away. Living Room Speaker says that I'm evil for this. We got Blackburn Big Dragon says, Bryant has no clue what he just signed up for. Oh yeah, Andreas Eld says, do tell Bryant that Mallory is the only person ever to defeat FTFE.
Is that the truth, or is that just somebody's?
If you ask FTFE, he will agree. He has said that. So.
Oh.
Anyway, all right. YouTube, thank you for being here again. I do enjoy when Ute is in the chat, Flat Earther, but entertaining enough. Dave Fear says, I just got here. Can you restart? Hold on. In Soldier 74 says, can you give a formula for Cole's law? Cole's law? No. I cannot.
A tasty formula.
I don't know Cole's law. I don't know if you're even making it up. Oh, we've got Renee. Earth is seriously flat comes in with CGI globe lovers, be smarter, be a flat earther, and check the Antikythera mechanism. Greeps knew it was flat and non-rotating. Tell you what, Renee. This book right here has all of the eclipses, lunar and solar eclipses, up through the year 2030. So Renee, how about you show how the Antikythera mechanism predicts eclipses, and I will show you how the globe predicts eclipses, and we'll see which one's accurate. You know what? I've never seen anybody who says that the Antikythera mechanism is useful for predicting eclipses. I've never seen them actually use it to predict eclipses. Funny that. I've also never seen anybody use sorrow cycles to predict the time, date, location, duration of an eclipse like this. You see that? There's the path. Where does the Antikythera mechanism or sorrow cycles do this? It doesn't. So anyway. All right. I'm glad to acknowledge you. Just a sec. I'm glad because you're fun and you're a decent person. So anyway, go ahead.
Oh, did you miss the Cole's law joke? Maybe you just passed by it. I thought you might have missed that one.
Not knowing, I intentionally pronounced it with a little gap in between there, not knowing what's the formula for coleslaw. I do believe that the formula for coleslaw is to put a bunch of stinking rotten cabbage together and let it rot for a while and then eat it.
Yeah,
all right.
Never a fan.
Gross. No. All right, here we go. End poll. We've got
What does it say?
Gonna be crazy. We've got, do you want Mallory versus Brian? 78% yes. 21% no. Leaving 1% unknown. These polls are never.
Well, there must be a reason why there's a lot of, that's a fair amount of no's. I mean, so there's probably some reasons why maybe. Well, so really you would want me to go in without even looking at any of.
You must go in without knowing anything about her.
Okay, I can agree to that.
All right.
I like to prepare for things, but on this instance, I just sort of would take your, just for the fun factor, right? Would it be more? I guess it'd be more fun that way.
Yep. She's Canadian. I'll give you that. I'll tell you that much. All right. We got Siggy Sigwald says, "Hola, MC Tune." Hola to you. All right. Well, that is it. I want to get this video. I'd love to get it up by tomorrow. I don't know if I can, but I've got next week. I think Rob Greenfield is going to debate somebody, and I'm just going to host. And then Wednesday night, Artemis is supposed to launch, and if it does, I'm going to do a live stream.
Nice.
During the launch, so it'll be good. Who knows? They do rather like to delay things. So, all right. I will.
Well, this is fun.
We've got some people saying there's no possible preparation for Mallory. Not even H will prepare you. Quexia says you have to know she's adorable and melt your heart. Paul says, what leaf does Canada have on its flag? Bryant?
The maple leaf?
There you go. All right. There it is. All right. Well, that's it. All
right.
Thank you, Bryant. This has been
fun. And thanks, Jaron, too. We want to make sure we call out.
Yep. Well done, Jaron. You are
excellent.
You are a great globe prover.
That's right. All right. That was great.
All right. We'll see everybody.
Okay. Well, good. We'll see you. All right. Bye.